Good evening, everybody. Welcome to America's Third Party. I am David Sponheim, and this is the Technology Thursday show. And boy, we had a lot of technological problems to start the show off with. We had a Windows update in our main desktop that was going on in the background, and when I got in here to start the show 10 minutes ago, the entire computer was like frozen. It didn't even have access to the internet. So whatever Microsoft is doing at this late date to make their programs more secure, I'm glad, but I'm also a little bummed out that all these programs were put out there without any safeguards, with backdoors for all kinds of hacking. And Microsoft acted like they were a trusted leader in software design when they were just a bunch of hacks themselves. And if you know anything about Windows, you know that it is a mountain of mistaken code, patchworks upon patchworks. And it's ironic that we chose as a nation Windows as our operating system. North Korea has their own operating system. We almost should rethink this entire plan to make a more secure operating system in America. It seems like every other operating system out there, Linux, has more security features. So why would Microsoft be so successful all these years? Because the government bought all of their programs through Microsoft. Our government has been stipending the growth of Microsoft and created the behemoth company that they are with little or no regard for safety or security, in my opinion. They're doing everything half-assed and Johnny-come-lately. Speaking of half-assed and Johnny-come-lately, let's talk about the Trump administration and what they're doing with Iran. The world is watching, and Trump's grandstanding left and right, threatening Iran. Yesterday, he threatened North Korea yet again. And all the while, the Republicans keep saying Trump is a good guy, that he didn't commit collusion or obstruction. But all the while, Trump is acting like a man who's guilty, who committed collusion and obstruction. And now Trump administration moves have fueled Iran's aggression, according to the U.S. intel. It's all on Trump. He's creating Iran's aggression unnecessarily, and especially making it illegal for Meng, the CFO of Huawei, to do business in Iran was a terribly stupid move. And I even said I would have not signed the treaty with Iran, but I would have never imposed economic sanctions like the kinds Trump has imposed, triggering a huge backlash from China and now potential aggression from Iran. Now, we've got military leaders that believe that we could destroy Iran in 2 or 3 days. Same kind of leaders that put us in Vietnam and in Iraq and Afghanistan. The ones that just want to go gung-ho into battle without even fighting themselves. People who want to sit there from an armchair and say, oh yeah, we could easily destroy that nation, no problem. Who have never ever served in the military. Now, I didn't serve in the military, but my father did. He served 3 tours of duty in World War II, and he ended up being one of the guys that won the war. The big war. That America has not repeated that performance ever since. So I can tell you that what we're seeing from Trump, who was, by the way, a draft dodger, 5-time draft dodger, claiming that he had bone spurs on his foot when there's no real evidence of that. He's now making moves that could destabilize the world and create the potential for nuclear war. Not a good idea. The Zionist that he is and that Biden is, both Zionists, are endorsing an overwhelming endorsement of Israel without even listening to other nations and their concerns about Israel's unbridled power, as well as their treatment of innocent Palestinian children that are literally killed. And no one seems to care. There were people that actually went all the way to the UK to ask about questions regarding policy.
Seemed like the president got a little ahead of himself.
Yeah, there were people who were asking, Democrats were backing British generals on Iran over the pathological liar Trump. And then, of course, we had an immigration discussion today.
Against those militias. Yes, it is a dangerous place, but is it necessary to have B-52s? Is it necessary to have a new an aircraft carrier and the Marines? I've heard nothing that would indicate that there is something new that would cause the current level of concern, current level of drumbeat of war.
I totally agree. Of course, CNN, you can call them fake news, whatever. I consider them a solid source on this issue, and I'm not going to in any way think for a second that that Trump is making a good decision threatening Iran. He is destabilizing the situation, and I've been arguing that this is all under the heading of diversions, that we've been seeing diversions left and right. Yeah. Also, the border issue, the 1,000-mile container fence, my idea. Trump has not implemented it. But we are hearing from Jared Kushner that I guess Trump wants to deal with sorting out the immigrants coming into our country based on merit. The problem is Jared Kushner can't communicate. He's really a bad source of communication on this issue. And Republican senators meet with Jared Kushner on immigration and conclude, Republican senators, mind you, conclude that he's clueless. He is completely clueless, and he wouldn't even address the Democratic concern about the DACA and the Dreamers, who are clearly an issue for the past 2 years with the Democrats. Nothing on the table from Jared Kushner. He literally was seen as a guy who just didn't know what he was talking about. So Trump advisor Stephen Miller, the hardline immigration hawk, the guy who's been pressing for zero tolerance and leading to the border backing up with illegal aliens and children being ripped from their families, Stephen Miller took over the conversation, and he reportedly was forced to interrupt Kushner to take over the discussion at several points. And throughout the meeting, Kushner dismissed several topics that senators considered crucial to the bill. So that's a summation of what happened today on the immigration front. Okay, let's get into the show. Right on. How is everybody? Don't answer that. That's okay. We had the Technology Thursday crisis of starting equipment. So managed to do a cooking show. I made asparagus casserole for the first time, and I'm going to enjoy eating it. Should be different. I mixed pasta with asparagus, and I put a can of chicken breast in there with a white sauce and lots of cheese. And I'm hoping that it'll be an excellent meal. So General Wesley Clark revealed the U.S. plan to invade Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Iran back in the day. Yeah, I remember that. We played that video many times in our show, Brian. It's a very appropriate video for Wesley Clark. He was told that they were just planning on attacking the Middle East and doing whatever the Zionists wanted. He never mentioned the word Zionism, though. A lot of people aren't aware that the people that created Adolf Hitler were Zionists, that even Adolf Hitler were Zionists. They don't realize that Israel and the creation of Israel dates back to the Balfour Declaration, which goes back to 1917, not World War II. And many people don't realize that these Zionists, like Hitler, were pushing for a greater agenda all the time. And now their great agenda is a new world order. Yeah, so it's a problem. Our country's now faced with these corrupt people who will do whatever they can to control our destiny, the narrative, the media, and whatever else they have to achieve. Now, the New World Order in and of itself is a comprehensive plan for global domination and a removal of sovereignty from all boundaries around the world. We have evidence Pope Francis calls for an end of sovereignty and an establishment of a global government. I mean, this is really, really suspicious. At a meeting of the Political Academy held recently, Pope Francis, shown in white, advocated a policy of decreased national sovereignty and increased global unity. A shift toward globalism is necessary, he said, in order to fight climate change and other worldwide threats. Isn't that convenient? Because climate change is not happening quickly except for the artificial input of chemtrails above our heads. You see, the elites around the world, specifically the Rothschilds, are overseeing a chemtrail operation to create the illusion of climate change in a very short period of time. They're trying to virtually create what we, many of us, believe is climate change. You may disagree that climate change is happening, but I can tell you that nearly 2,000 cows in Washington died recently from a freeze that was totally unexpected. And it happened across the Midwest last winter, 70 degrees below zero. All because of chemicals in the atmosphere changing the weather. That's obnoxious. But as you can see, this isn't condensation from planes. This is chemical dispersal of particulates. And they're even trying to say that they're trying to control the weather. Now, a newspaper the other day in Seattle said, climate control is good for fish. Now, I don't know, we haven't had a discussion about dumping chemicals in the atmosphere yet in America. Yet they're talking about it like it's something that we should do. There's no evidence that's going to help. The only way we're going to clean the atmosphere and make it better and improve the climate is to filter the air. That's the only way. Not dump more chemicals in the atmosphere. That's absurd. Yeah, look at those colors refracting. You saw them, Sammy Davis, in the background, yeah. Sammy Davis said it took him 20 minutes to sign into the show. It's shuffled. They're censoring our show big time, and you guys who are fighting through refresh after refresh just to get into our show are the real troopers here. Thank you for getting in here and adding your chat and your communication on all the issues. A lot of people around the world can't see our show, can't react. A lot of people see the show and can't chat. There's a lot of reasons why we have so many problems, and most of it's because they're afraid of this show. And they're afraid of my mind. I've got a very powerful mind. And because of that, I'm able to disarm anybody intellectually within a few seconds. Kind of like judo. And it's the equivalent of intellectual judo. When you deal with people of Donald's intelligence, it's fairly easy to rip into him the same way he rips into other people. The problem is, nobody's willing to do that. I'm more than willing to play the Donald's game of loudmouth bullying. I'm more than willing to go out of my way to cut him down to size right in the middle of a public debate, and they know that. They know that I've got the vigor in me to go after him like a typical chosen, virtuous person that I am. Because I believe I have a purpose here, and that is to spike the media with good, solid, logical information. And that's what I do every day. So I'm not afraid to do the due diligence of exposing the New World Order. So when we talk about Pope Francis now saying we need a global government, an end of sovereignty, this is a definite New World Order play, and they're using the Vatican to push their agenda. Now, who are these people that are running our government and running the two parties? They are Zionists, by and large. They're connected to various agencies, organizations. The Masons are connected to this cabal, if you will. The Knights Templar connected to this cabal of people. The Zionists, who had this goal of creating Israel at one point, now have the goal of global world domination. And we have a problem because we're fighting the same people that brought Hitler to power, that put Hitler in charge of Germany. We're fighting the same people now. You see, we won the war against Germany, but we lost really against the Nazis because they embedded themselves in our government, and now we've got to sort out this nightmare of corruption, which is just stewing and getting worse and worse with the Trump cabinet doing deals for all these billionaires. I don't go out in the public except randomly. And when I do go out in the public, I can defend myself. But in no way do I expect anyone to even consider that type of a danger yet. We're still in the formative stages of building this party, and I've been doing this for 10 and a half years. But they're afraid of us. They're afraid of the growth that we've had worldwide with UHF transmissions. Now, I don't control those UHF transmissions, but people are kind enough to bump our signal and get it out there for people to watch.
Facing jail again, potentially.
Chelsea Manning is in the news, and there's something very strange about Chelsea Manning, or formerly Bradley Manning. Not that she is a transgender. That's not the strange part. That's perfectly fine if she wants to become a tranny. But listen to what she said, and you decide, why is this person not testifying? To this day, we don't understand. He refused to testify initially, Bradley did. And now Chelsea refused to testify, and she says that it's because they're asking the same questions they asked when she was Bradley. Listen to this.
Today doesn't change my stance. The prosecutors are deliberately placing me in an impossible position. Go to jail. And I think that ultimately, this is an attempt to place me back in confinement. I think that the questions are the same questions that I was asked before the court-martial in 7-8 years ago. There's nothing new. They're not asking anything new. There's no new information that. I think we have a very strong case. We have more evidence now. We have more information now about the grand jury subpoena. And this really is, even though it's a different subpoena, it is for the same questions. So this is based upon the information that we've learned from the previous process. We have a stronger case, I do believe.
All right. Well, again, why, if she is given total immunity, why in the world would she not want to testify? What is she hiding? What is she trying to defend? What is she's real point? We know why Bradley Manning didn't want to testify. Because he didn't want to incriminate himself. But there's no incrimination here. She's been given complete immunity. So there's something in the WikiLeaks that this man or woman is afraid will get him or her killed, I think. I really believe that this is a case of not wanting to incriminate yourself even though you have total immunity, which means the WikiLeaks agency is probably a front operation for the CIA and the NSA. And she has been told not to talk about it. That's my suspicion. That all along WikiLeaks was just a PR firm for the NSA and the CIA. That's my gut feeling. That they've been used, and Julian Assange hasn't been seen since that CGI of him being carried out, which looked totally fake. He has not been seen. So it's very likely that all along Julian Assange was just being CGI'd. He's probably long dead. And they were just creating words and phrases for him to say in order to control the narrative. Now, during this time period, we exposed Hillary Clinton, but not really. We never really pinned any Benghazi cases on her. And we never really pinned the Haitian money deal that Bill and she had acquired $5.4 billion in donations, and hardly any of it went to the people. We never exposed any of that, but WikiLeaks essentially was used as a tool in manipulating the election by the Russians, which is very interesting. And Donald Trump kind of urged the Russians to, Russia, if you're listening, and he asked them to spy on Hillary, which is a case of espionage, really. So there's a lot of things pending right now because of Donald Trump's ineptitude and incompetence that we keep looking at. The fact that he's flip-flopped on the border has upset a lot of people, and now flip-flopping on the farmers has really pissed off America. They wanted a better deal. They wanted to have a demand for their food and their products. China's trade war has cost us dearly, and Trump is pulling money out of borrowed money to give them $12 billion, and that doesn't even appease the farmers because their losses are bigger than $12 billion. So this is a terrible case of mismanagement of government. It points to incompetence at every level, but believe me, the Democrats aren't much better. We've got that coming, which is disaster in the making. We've got all these problems with the two parties that are resulting from his incompetence and his inability to actually listen to his expert testimony. Now, as president, I would rely on experts at all levels to make decisions because I am not an expert on our national defenses at the point where Trump could be. Trump doesn't want to know about our national defenses. He doesn't even want to know about the minutes, the points, all the different issues that come up every day. You know who listens to that information? Jared Kushner. Trump doesn't even listen to our military reports. That's how incompetent he is. Jared Kushner does, and I just told you, he's out of the loop on almost everything. Former WWE star Ashley Massaro has died at age 39. Wow. This is weird. a woman with such beauty, and I remember her absolutely in some of those opening scenes with wrestlers being introduced. Yeah, wow. What the heck happened? She's transported from her home in Suffolk County, New York, to a hospital where she died on Thursday. There's no word yet of the cause of death. It's being classified as non-criminal. Wow. She was once in the cast of Survivor China. Yeah, I remember that. I watched her on that show. That's right. It was Steve Probst. Come on in, guys. Remember him? Come on in, guys. Dude, you're having women go outside into an open area, and you're saying, "Come on in, guys." What's going on with that? Come on in, guys. He says it every time. Survivor, yeah, BJ. Right. I don't know. I liked the show. I liked her in it. I'm sorry for her loss. We'll figure out what the hell happened. Hey, Sunstar, good evening. Anyway, there's a couple of things that Representative Nadler is looking at to determine if there is even going to be an impeachment. And he said that if there was cheating in the election, he would process an impeachment case. And he said if there's misuse of power by a president of the United States, he would process impeachment. So far, I see both. So it's very likely that he'll be forced to impeach and move forward, and the Democrats will have to impeach, even though Nancy Pelosi's totally bought off and doesn't want to. Yep. Hey, we don't allow you in the show, Belko. You've been permabanned from the show, so every time you come in here, you're going to get banned. Right. You've been stalking the show way too long. Okay, we've got Miss Elizabeth died of a drug overdose. Famous wrestling fan. Yeah, many people remember Miss Elizabeth. It was a drug overdose. Remember Chyna? Chyna was a famous wrestler who they say died of drug-related issues. She was valet to the Macho Man Randy Savage. She died at 42 in 2003. Yeah, it's kind of a sad. And then Chyna passed away. We have a video of Chyna, her last spoken words, a day before she died. You probably remembered Chyna. Here she was. Nope, I don't have that. Oh, Chyna, where are you? I think it's alphabetical, Dave. That would make sense. Here she was as a wrestling star. And yeah, that was during the vigor of her day, and then she died. Yeah. And yeah, it's sad. But a lot of these wrestlers have a really rough life. I believe that they're, just overwhelmed with the pressures of the day. And yeah, in fact, I probably shouldn't play her video of her last day. It's kind of sad, when you think about it. It would be in bad taste for me to do that. Let me show you Kim Jong-un's amazing breakdancing capability.
Get it, social.
Okay. I was shocked. If only Kim Jong Un would get into worldwide wrestling, you can imagine how powerful he would be. Yeah, he is an amazing human specimen. I will say that. I could not do that. So, yeah. Hey, Isaac Cappy's last phone call. Remember Isaac Cappy, the 42-year-old who just died? He's kind of a bit actor. He was in Breaking Bad, a couple other shows. He had a 16-minute last talk, and Misanthropy has it in the show here. Let's take a listen.
What it is, everybody. It is Wednesday, May 15th, 2019. It's 2 days after the alleged suicide of Isaac Cappy, regrettably. So I brought you the news yesterday, children, and he said absolutely not. Just commentary. A lot of people were suggesting he might have doxed victims or people he was working with or researchers.
Okay, well, we'll be listening to this entire video tonight on our show. Thank you for that, Misanthropy. Yeah, it's strange because he was a big QAnon fan, and he, as much as I don't support QAnon, trying to make Trump out to be an anti-deep state guy, because he's clearly doing everything for the deep state, and Russia too, and the Zionists that run Russia. But it's likely that the QAnon group is touching on some real solid issues, though. Because remember, they're kind of pulling from all kinds of things that just don't make sense in American media. And false flags are one of them. Now, we talk about the false flags on our show, but in no way do I think that Trump is going to stop those. He endorsed the Parkland shooting, and he even spent an hour and a half talking to the children as if he was caring deeply about gun control, and pretty much talked about how he would, first we're taking their guns, then we'll do the due process. That was his whole pitch, which doesn't make it seem to me that Donald Trump is trying to stop false flags from happening. So no matter who you believe, don't believe in QAnon. But he did. Isaac Cappy did, and he's now dead. And he was talking about pedophiles in Hollywood, claiming that Tom Hanks was one. I have yet to see any solid evidence of pedophilia from Tom Hanks. I have yet to see any, until you can actually pin something on somebody, it's kind of hard to make those statements. No, that was not Isaac Cappy. That was just somebody talking about Isaac Cappy. That's the point. You have an inspirational video for Sarah? Well, that's nice. Yeah, she likes that stuff. But I'll look at that video later tonight. It looks like the guy has some inside information on Isaac Cappy that might be good to watch. All right, so Chelsea Manning not willing to testify on the WikiLeaks matter. Very strange. Pope Francis calling for an end of sovereignty, nation sovereignty, and a beginning of a global establishment of a global government. Equally disturbing that he's pitching that goal. And we have a video last night we played of Elvis Presley's, what appears to be Elvis Presley's twin brother. Yeah, we played that for you. I didn't play it in its entirety. I have it tonight. I'll be playing that in its entirety, which I think people want to know why this guy talks and acts so different than Elvis Presley. Yeah, it was a film shot in Houston many years ago. Some people are speculating that his twin brother was brought into play. It didn't die at birth, and it was used.
They asked me to do it, and I was anxious to do some live appearances. You know, it'd been a long time since I've been on stage in front of anybody live.
He looked very nervous, and he had brown eyes, and Elvis had blue eyes. It's very possible that Elvis's twin brother did survive, and then may have been used as kind of a fake. So we have that to play later tonight in its entirety. Okay, the big news, though, really is we aren't going to have a war with Iran. Even Trump is starting to tell his intelligence people that he didn't really mean it after all. This is a man who's completely rudderless with his foreign policy, has no idea what's going on. He basically pulled back and said he didn't mean that he was going to attack Iran. An F-16 jet fighter crashed while trying to land at the California base. no injuries reported. Yeah. This is what I deal with every day. I have F-18s and F-35s flying above my head in very dangerous diving patterns. And I oftentimes look up and I see 3 to 5 or to 6 of these things within 10 feet of each other. And I wonder, you know, the Blue Angels, they hit each other's wings and they died. What makes these young Top Gun guys so safe that they're going to fly above my house at 50,000 population of people and seemingly get away with it? Well, they do. In fact, we have flights within 150 feet of our house. Today I had 2 military helicopters fly within 100 feet of my house. Literally within, right over my head. I was looking up and whoa, 2 military helicopters. They're supposed to be 500 feet above my house, not 100 feet. But for some reason, they're just amping up their activity in my area. Okay, the forensics investigation found that cops shot each other, then murdered a Houston couple. Huh. Oh yeah, definitely rattles the house. We're getting 120 decibels, and it's amazing. Ever since Patty Murray authorized 50 different jets to be sold by Boeing against all technical options, it looked like they rigged it for Boeing, and then 50 jets started flying over my house right after that. We're talking about 10 years now. Forensics investigation finds cops shot each other, then murdered a Houston couple. The murder of an innocent Houston couple made national headlines earlier this year as police took smearing their names and threatening those who didn't believe their official narrative. As the months passed, we learned that the Houston Police Department's raid on the home of Dennis Tuttle and Regina Nicholas was based on lies, and they were murdered for no reason. Now the case has reached a turning point after the family hired a forensics expert to examine the home and found that there's no evidence the officers encountered gunfire. According to the forensics experts hired by the family of the victims, the officers who suffered bullet wounds during the raid of the innocent couple's home were shot by their fellow cops. This is a direct challenge to the official narrative, which states the officers were forced to kill the couple after the couple opened fire on them. This is amazing. Wow. Talk about police corruption. According to the police, when they kicked the door down to the home, they were forced to shoot the couple's dog, at which point Tuttle grabbed his .357 Magnum revolver and opened fire on the officers. Then, according to police, Nicholas moved in to disarm one of the officers, so they shot and killed her. However, according to forensics experts, there's no evidence of this. Furthermore, the forensics team noted that the police were never really investigating the crime scene and left behind mountains of evidence showing that what really transpired. It doesn't appear that they took the basic steps to confirm and collect the physical evidence to know whether police were telling the truth. That's the basic check on people just making stuff up when they do that. The whole point of forensic scene documentation is to take the effort to document everything. Okay, you just heard from a person in the military that they're planning FEMA internments right after the theft of the 2020 election. They're planning on riots, really? I don't know. You know, some people say that Trump is going to try to rig the election because he's so desperate to stay in power. I am. I'm 59. I turned 59 recently. Yeah. Yeah, next April's the big 6-0, yeah. I haven't really been affected by age. Here I was 10 years ago. I kind of looked the same way.
Hi, good morning. As you can see, I'm still wearing the shirt I wore last night and yesterday at Blog TV. It's exhilarating to do Blog TV. We've been having an incredible time. This is in fact day 54. I thought yesterday was day 54, but we did a recount, and we determined that today is day 54 as we approach the election.
Hey, happy post-birthday in April. Yeah, thank you. I was 49 in that picture. Now I'm 59. No, I was swatted many years after that. We were swatted in 2015, about 3.5 years ago. Oh, we're April babies. Yeah, Sunstar, that's right. According to a study here that said Alabama's extremist bill against abortion will make it harder for John Roberts to overturn Roe v. Wade. That's an interesting switch. Yeah, you wouldn't think that the Alabama outlawing abortion or outlawing abortion would make it difficult to overturn Roe v. Wade, but in a way it does.
States are rushing to restrict abortion or to protect it.
Yeah.
Which ones are rushing to protect it?
Let's take a look. Some states are trying to protect abortion rights. I guess Washington would be one of them. SCOTUS was all teed up to quietly gut America's abortion rights. Then Alabama happened. So John Roberts, the Chief Justice, is actually thinking of gutting the. He's actually going to be the architect of overturning Roe v. Wade. Interesting. And, Gorsuch would definitely side with him. Let me get a picture over here so I can grab it, and you can just have a picture to grab from.
Well, I do the whole monitor.
Yeah, I'll do the monitor capture for you. And I'll just blow that up. All right, so this is going to be the article Sarah's going to read while I'm away, preparing a little meal. See you in a bit.
So Brett Kavanaugh wanted to allow states to erect more and more barriers to abortion access. Dolphin skin window coverings on every clinic. What? They would find ways to say that such regulations were not an undue burden on a woman's right to choose. The courts and state legislatures could continue lifting love songs to the needs for the states to protect maternal health and to help confused people make choices. The state of Alabama runs now to the Supreme Court with its mask of all right, anyway. Oh, thanks, Sammy Davis. Yeah, I guess I'm one of those women that doesn't need to be... well, everybody likes to be held. Or maybe I do. Maybe it's just me. But I don't have to be held. Or I've gotten to the point where I don't. Yes, I do like inspirational stuff. Absolutely, that's one of my things I really do like. Did you find some inspiration recently? You remember when this room was a hive of activity? What happened? Is it just Sarah being here? Yes, I do, 922. Or did. Oh, the live SpaceX launch in like 45 minutes? Or just the launch part for 5 minutes? Nice. Thank you. I'll put that over here. Is madness the key to success? Yes, because we are evolved to survive, not take selfies. 15,000 views and 30 minutes. 30 minutes? Who has the time for a 30-minute video? This is amazing and inspirational. Claude Childs. How is that? Okay, I guess that's great. I like this brother's been on the farm way too long. I don't know if David would even like that. That's pretty hilarious. I'll put it over here. You're pretty funny. Amazing and inspirational. If you say so. All right. You're right. I will look at it. That's fine. Thank you for the video. I should say thank you, Misanthropy, for thinking of me. Is the madness the key to success? Yes, because we are evolved to survive, not take selfies. This is Sam Vaknin's Richard Grannon seminar in Liverpool on March of 2019. How to manipulate the narcissist or psychopath. How to manipulate them. So real and honest. I've never liked Tony Robbins, and I'm a small business owner. I'm just reading through the comments because I can't watch it now. I design and sell pillows, home decor. However, I began as an illustrator graphic designer. I always feel that these other ridiculous strategies we are supposed to absorb and utilize as a business owner is just rubbish. It's nothing but hard work, tons of research, failure, and starting over and trying again. Okay. Thank you very much. A lot of people like it. Thanks, Misanthropy. You missed the cooking show. Do I know what David cooked? He made me a steak. I haven't eaten it yet, but I definitely will. Because it's that time. I eat steak usually for once a month. During 1 week out of the month, I eat steak. The rest of the time, I mostly eat vegetables and some chicken and some fish, but just that 1 week because I need extra iron. Well, other than I like Misanthropy's soul. I can say that. I haven't seen what he looks like, I haven't talked to him on the phone or anything, but I definitely relate to him. Mad Dog, sometimes you and I definitely don't see eye to eye politically. Well, maybe I don't necessarily with Misanthropy on some things. But like, for me, for instance, I would say that I always say I believe in education, and people say, are you pro-choice or pro-life? And I say I'm pro-education and pro-prevention. I want to prevent unwanted pregnancies in the first place. I want to educate. Okay, I will unban him, yes. I want to educate women about all their options, especially the option of adoption. Now both David and I have banned Bingo because I did not ban him last night. But I would definitely say, all in all, shorthand, I think it's up to the woman to make a choice. Oh yes, sometimes that happens, Misanthropy, or sometimes his account might have gotten hacked. Or if you're so drunk that you change personalities, that's almost like your account getting hacked. Panini sandwiches are good. You've got a little rhyme going there, 1973. Wait, when 922 passed out last night at the supper table, you guess your blood pressure dropped too low? Wow. Not enough calories or something? Are you like going on some kind of starvation diet or something? I used to think that 901, but then I realized that if you ban assault rifles or you ban guns, the only people with guns would be criminals and the government. Thank you, Pirate. Mostly you're on a vegetarian fish diet, but once a month you eat organic turkey burgers. Are you on a seafood diet? David says seafood and eat it. You might be right, 901. Oh. Okay, I'm gonna, how do I save this? Send it to myself.
Okay. I was just amazed at the got a startup issue today just because Windows did an update right in the middle of our startup. So
Oh,
yeah, I didn't set updates.
That's weird.
I had automatic updates in the system, and it shut the computer down. It was kind of
oh
weird.
my
But I
goodness.
think it worked out okay. We got up and running finally.
You know what they'll do? The states nearby will start abortion clinics, the states near Alabama.
Oh yeah,
And then all the women will go over to those states that are nearby.
they will.
And then they'll
justifiably.
have like buses. I'm going to this other state to go to the casino, aka abortion clinic. Oh man. Correct. I do not like processed meats. You know, I might make a penny or two at the casino. That's about it. Is this a song you're working on, Mad Dog, or are you copying lyrics from someone else? I have heard that. Have I been to that one? No. I've been to a casino in New York, but not. And I've been to Niagara Falls. I don't remember if I went to a casino near Niagara Falls. Is that on the Canadian side? If so, I definitely haven't been. Hello, pirate. People say my name and I say their name right back to them. I used to say yes, but then I had this problem where people thought that I was saying yes because oh, that's weird. Some video was removed. Video unavailable 197. Video unavailable. The video was removed because it was too long. Wait, you had an ex. Oh, sorry, I missed some things you said. Why do Republicans find it wrong to kill unborn babies, but it's okay to go kill people that are already alive, like in wars? Yeah, why is that? Why, my friends, is that? And then, of course, the Democrat version is they find it okay to have they say abortion is okay, but that the death penalty is wrong. Why is that? Okay, you had an ex that had 4 babies and she had to give one of them up for adoption to a stranger, and her mom adopted the other 2, and her mom basically raises the 4th as well. Man. Yeah, I didn't have a passport at the time or whatever. I just didn't want to, I didn't go into Canada. I don't think going into Canada would be such a problem. It would be actually returning to the US that might be a problem. I hope that's not what he's saying. I hope you don't believe that, misanthropy, because that's something I definitely cannot endorse. Oh God, do I want that? Yeah, I don't know. I don't feel. Yeah, that is weird. Okay, or not. I don't know. You did hear about, have you guys read that small section in, it's called Freakonomics, that talks about Roe versus Wade and how Roe versus Wade may have actually lowered our crime rates?
Yeah.
Once Roe versus Wade went into effect about 18 years later, then our crime rates suddenly started dropping.
Yeah. 45% drop, they say.
You know, and people are like, wow, what's that? You know, it's so great.
Right.
And it was like, connect the dots, and it's because there were all those people that weren't born, that didn't have to compete for resources like love. Yes, Roe versus Wade prevented the super criminals everyone in the 1970s were so scared was going to happen. There's just criminals and criminality increasing, and it was just on this super surge until then it like suddenly started not being so bad, and they're like, what changed? Well, you could be the man or woman who's going to cure cancer. You could be the man that's going to cure cancer. I think about all the kids, all the people that all the people that suffer from trauma. I'm so glad I found this. why we need trauma sensitive schools. I agree, my cat Fluffy. Yeah, that's true. Thankfully, they do have more and more condoms available. Adverse childhood experiences. The adverse childhood experiences study demonstrates that nearly every school has students who have been exposed to overwhelming experiences, such as witnessing violence at home, being direct targets of abuse, homelessness, or having a parent with substance abuse or mental health issues. For some children, these experiences result in trauma response that can lead to a cascade of social, emotional, and academic difficulties that can interfere with the child's ability to learn at school. Recent neurobiological research has shown that the trauma response can diminish concentration, memory, and the organizational and language abilities students need to succeed in school, potentially leading to problems with academic performance, challenging behavior in the classroom, and difficulty forming relationships. Well, just so you know, Badger Waxer, you say it's not just the end, there's also the beginning. And if you don't practice, if you don't use prophylactics at the beginning, it takes only a very small amount of semen to impregnate a woman. It doesn't have to be at the final point. It can just be at the beginning. I agree with you, 901. There's a very great book called The Cancer Industry, I think is the name of it. We have it. But how it basically talks about, they might not be curing cancer because they don't want cancer to be cured, because there's so much money in treating cancer rather than curing cancer. I agree, Mad Dog, you're right. All right, there are a growing number of schools throughout the United States engaged in the work of creating trauma-sensitive schools. Oh, a school staff member in one of these trauma-sensitive schools explains, every child belongs to everyone, and when kids feel that, the kids and teachers are happy. Because really, it's every child belongs to everyone. Yeah. I'm sorry, Ivan. I'm talking about trauma-sensitive schools, and my chat room over at Von Live is talking about abortion. And iVlog, I don't know what you guys are talking about. My cat Fluffy says, back in the day, they judged good women who trusted irresponsible men promising marriage. The men then left them. Women would trust irresponsible men saying, I'll marry you. And they'll be like, I love you. Come on. Let's get it on. I love you so much. I'll marry you. And then the woman would be like, okay. And then, all right, well, we can do it. And then the woman gets pregnant and the guy's like, I don't want a kid. I don't want to marry you. So then they're fatherless. And the women were not encouraged to have protective sex. A protective sex? Yeah. Yes, misanthropy, that's what David was saying. I guess he had a good sex education class or something, because he said he's way more concerned about getting an STD, and that the STD rate is so way too high to take a risk of not using a condom. So you should use the condom every time. I see the eclipse still. The lunar eclipse, the solar eclipse. No, not recently. I saw one in the summer, I guess. Sammy says he thinks the name cancer is deceiving also. How's the word cancer deceiving? 901 says true. You can't give herpes up for adoption. When you have herpes or an STD, it's for life. Agreed, Ivan. Yet it's more of educated people. Mostly people like myself are the ones choosing to not have children. I remember when one of the reasons I chose to not have children of my own is because, well, to say frankly, I was in this middle school class. I remember it was either middle school or high school, but I was in a class and we were talking about the overpopulation of the planet. And this is like, I exactly remember where I was and what was happening. And when we talked about the overpopulation of the planet, they were saying one way that people cannot overpopulate is to make a choice to not have children in the future. And I thought to myself, I come from a very large family. And so if my siblings had children, then that generation could continue. But if too many of us had children, it would just really add to the overpopulation. And that's the point in time when I chose to not have children.
Yeah. I had a similar concern, and I think I was frightened.
Yes. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
I interrupted you.
No, I interrupted you.
I was concerned about the price of raising children. Back in when I was a young man, they were saying that children are going to cost $300,000 per child. And I thought, I don't even want to acquire a mortgage for $300,000. And when you think about it, if you want to raise a child by using American services and just taking your illegal alien child into America and sucking all of our services dry, sure, you could raise a child, but that's more like dragging a child up as opposed to giving a child a great life, which is what the $300,000 was for. Yeah, and a lot of people, that's right, anyone can be a father. It takes a lot to stand up and be a dad and really put yourself out there. And there's a lot of deadbeat dads that don't pay their child support in America, and they flee the state, and this goes on all the time. And women are stuck with children, and now Alabama's forcing children. I mean, a young girl could get raped, and then she'd be forced to carry the baby now in Alabama. The baby of her rapist. That's Sharia law. I didn't understand, when did America start adopting Sharia law? Alabama did. Well, I am allowed to have a dynasty and build powerful families from scratch. Everyone is. Absolutely. You're all open to that. I just chose not to, and Sarah chose not to. Hey, dinner is ready. I made a wonderful, very tender sirloin steak. I filleted it for you. It's ready to go, along with some pasta and asparagus. But you got to use pesto because it tastes like asparagus. You need a little pesto in there.
Okay.
Thank you.
You want me to restart this one?
Yeah, hit restart. They did a complete Windows update, and unfortunately, America has to deal with that now. Yeah, forced upon us. Thanks, Sarah. But yeah, we found each other, and Sarah doesn't want children. I don't want children. And it's not that we don't have the ability to have children. It's just that we don't want them. And maybe we are the end product of years of programming and brainwashing into thinking the world is too populated. But now the birth rate's down 2% every year for the past few years here in America. Whereas in other countries, it's soaring, way above what it was last year. So clearly our country wants to control its borders, and we also want to control our population. And Trump did introduce something based on merit regarding immigration, which I think is worth looking at. I do. I'm not going to dispense with everything Trump says. I think the merit-based system for immigration certainly makes sense. So that's an intelligent thing to say, but not dealing with DACA and the requests of the Democrats, it's like ignoring the entire will of the people, because the will of the people elected the Democrats to the House. So Trump is a little bit deluded in thinking that he can ignore the DACA issue. And it cost him dearly. Remember when the Democrats are willing to give him $25 billion for the border wall, assuming he approved of DACA? Remember those old days about 2 years ago? Yeah, Trump blew it. He could have accepted DACA and said, yeah, sure, let's honor the requests of the previous administration, even though we may not agree with it, and let dreamers who've come into this country stay in the country, but still have to work toward a path to citizenship. All he had to do was say yes to the Democrats back then, and he would have had a $25 billion fence. Now here we are, Johnny come lately, trying to put this together. We're the couple at the beginning of Idiocracy that just don't want a child. Exactly. That's true. And I'm not complaining because I've seen what fathers are going through. I saw a dad deal with 4 or 5 kids the other day at Costco, and he couldn't even keep track of one of them. And one of his daughters, a little 7-year-old girl, was wandering in the Costco building, just wondering where her dad was. And what was really scary is she didn't think that was unusual. It had happened before. She'd been lost before. It was like one of the many times she was lost in a big market. So she wasn't overreacting. The little girl was going, I don't know where my daddy is. And yeah, and you can see that that's a serious problem when people have too many kids. Okay. Making some adjustments on my gain too, I think. There we go. Yeah, the dad trying to remember her name. It looked really pathetic. And luckily a Costco employee was handling this situation. Otherwise, I guess Sarah has an obligation to help every child around her. So, as a teacher, so she would have stepped in if the Costco employee wasn't actively looking for her father. But wow, what a weird world where a dad can lose one of 4 or 5 kids and not really worry about it. I would freak out. That's why I'm not becoming a father. Even if I had my kid outside with a bike and going down the street, I would freak out. I see people going 80, 90 miles an hour down my street. The president is really horrible. I know. Mysterious disappearance of Granger Taylor. 45 minutes. We'll deal with that tonight. Okay. Thanks. Yeah, spaceman. Abductions. F-16 crashes into a building. Multiple plane crashes across country. Unusual crafts and sounds in the sky. Okay. Wow, you got dual boot Lenovo for $70 and it works fine for streaming? Good job, Penguin Glue. Yeah. This guy's been getting a Lenovo for $50-$70 online. The what are they, ThinkPad strike-offs? Thank you. Trump lies about his trade war with China. Oh, let's take a look. All right. Whoa. Yeah. Here's a Here's a GIF, which is sad but sick and weird and at the same time. But a child is somehow, a toddler got in traffic and ran out of their house one day, and mother wasn't looking. And this was the nightmare that ensued. Let's show you this. Look at this. It's unbelievable. The kid's on the street, gets out of his house, literally on the street with his little, and finally is flagged down. Could have easily been run over by any number of cars. I mean, unreal. Well, we don't know what country that's from, nor do I care. I'm glad the kid's okay. A missing toddler has survived. Okay, we got another story about toddlers tonight. A missing toddler survived nearly 3 days alone in the Kentucky hills. Wow. A massive search returned 22-month-old Kenneth Howard to his parents after he survived more than 60 hours alone and outside. Wow. That's amazing. There he is. Wait, he's going to be a backpacker when he grows up and probably a mountaineer. He'll be another Daniel Boone when 3 days on his own in the woods. Wow. Amazing. A miraculous recovery, and good job to the search and rescue team. 12 minutes. Let me check on this other link. I have to queue things up. Let me turn my audio down in case it's a bad video.
When it comes to foreign policy, there are two things we know about Donald Trump. He wants to be liked by everyone, and he has no idea what he's talking about. That's why his description of how he would conduct himself in office was always so incoherent. During the campaign, for example, Trump insisted both that as a businessman, he could have good relationships with everybody, and also that as a nation, we should be unpredictable.
As a businessman, I get along with everybody. I have business all over the world.
We must, as a nation, be more unpredictable. We are totally predictable. We have to be unpredictable.
No, you can't get along with everybody and also be unpredictable. Nobody...
Exactly. Nobody likes the unpredictable part. Yeah, everybody's been upset at Donald Trump and the way he behaves. He just doesn't have any accountability. That's the core problem. He was never told what to do by his family. He always got away with whatever he wanted to do. No one could question him in his jobs or whatever position he held. It's just like when you ask a question of him and you expect something, you get a void. Yeah, just an incredible void. And then you start to see the Trump administration is connected to the Illuminati, and then his close friend is Henry Kissinger. Starting to get the picture? Yeah. Right. And then they have these plans that they've got. That's right. They're going to destabilize Venezuela. Henry, you're in the way. There we go. They're going to attack Iran. They're having a Chinese trade war. And what this amounts to is Trump diversions, basically. Yep. It's really a new world order. And Trump is ours. We control him. He is owned by the Zionist elitists. Oh, sorry. Okay, so we're up on the show here talking about the Trump diversions that are currently underway. I had to switch gears, guys. Sorry. But, opportunity knocks. I had to talk about something other than what I was talking about. Police raid the Venezuelan embassy. Okay. Have a nice night. Yeah, you too. You got to go? I forgot. I didn't even turn programs on tonight. I was so sidetracked by the Windows Update situation. Well, thank you, my cat Fluffy, for coming in. Take care. Police of the battering ram raid the Venezuelan embassy in D.C. and arrest anti-coup activists. Whoa. Anybody supporting Maduro at the Venezuelan embassy in D.C. was immediately attacked. I mean, this is an act of war. I mean, I would be declaring war on the U.S. if I were Maduro. But he's in a bad situation, you know. I don't support the overtaking of his country in any way. I think I'm more of a non-interventionist. I don't believe that we should meddle in other countries' affairs and install Guaido as the leader.
To RT that they are currently being evicted from the Venezuelan embassy in Washington, D.C. after being told by police they were trespassing. We now go live to Medea Benjamin, who's co-founder of Code Pink, for more on this. Now, Medea, you've of course been following this and been at the embassy quite a bit as of late. What more can you tell us about the situation?
Well, as you can see from the pictures that you've been showing, it is full of police. They have bomb-sniffing dogs there. And we got an urgent call from the people inside at 9:15 this morning that the police had broken down the door and that they were going to be arrested. So the arrests are underway right now. We denounce this as a violation of the Vienna Conventions because the group has been there with the permission of the Venezuelan government. I was just at the UN yesterday with the ambassador to the UN, who was calling on the US to sign a protecting power agreement with Venezuela so that both the embassy in Washington, D.C. and the U.S. embassy in Caracas would be protected. The Venezuelan government has said it has not given permission for the opposition representatives to enter the building and that there is still time to negotiate a solution that would be of mutual agreement to both these governments, but it will be a tremendous step towards greater conflict with the U.S. if indeed the Guaido representatives are allowed to go into that embassy now.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, they're literally implanting Guaido's ruling party, which he created when he had unlimited credit provided to him by Goldman Sachs. And Guaido is now the interceptor of it's essentially an economic hit against Venezuela. Our country's been doing this for decades under the New World Order. It's no different than anything previous, no different than Iraq or Afghanistan or yeah, so they were still working on new plans. Now going after Venezuela, attacking Iran, and having a Chinese trade war. What a better way to divert our attention from Trump's excesses and greed. Hello, Pitoro. Welcome to the show.
Look at the person that you're going to such great lengths to protect. Look at this pathetic person who stood at a press conference as our country was being attacked and said, Russia, if you're listening, you'll be rewarded if you keep attacking. That's the person you want to protect? That's the person you want to break the law for? That individual? And what does this person do after a 400-page report comes out? He calls the leader of the country that attacked us. At his request, President Trump called Putin. They talked for 90 minutes. President Trump described it as Putin was smiling. That's your leader.
Yeah.
The commander-in-chief. He called the guy that attacked us. When we were attacked by Japan, Franklin Roosevelt did not call the Emperor of Japan. When we were attacked by Al-Qaeda on September 11th, George Bush did not call Osama bin Laden, and the President of the United States should only call Vladimir Putin for one reason, to tell him that this will never be tolerated and he's going to unite the country to make sure that's true. The most basic function of a government is to protect its people from a foreign attack. If our president or the Attorney General or his allies in Congress are unable or unwilling to do that, then we don't have a government. Fortunately, we're not powerless anymore. The American people voted to put a balance of power on all of these abuses of power. And this committee is going to protect and defend America, and it's going to start with holding this lawless Attorney General in contempt. And I yield back.
Yay, thank you. So William Barr is going to have to be arrested Yeah, it's going to come down to William Barr being arrested for being in contempt of Congress in their order to get the 448-page completely unredacted, a raw Mueller report. Mueller report gone wild. Okay, the speaker, yes. And he was flippant about...
is more than a delivery partner. It is a marketing tool for us.
Yeah, he was very flippant about talking to Nancy Pelosi. He actually, she said she has a jail, and he says, should I bring my handcuffs? It's a big joke to this guy. It's not a joke to the American people. We are wondering why he's obstructing justice right now.
Over and over again, the testimony of the Attorney General of the United States. How sad it is. How sad it is for us to see the top law enforcement officer in our country misrepresenting, withholding the truth from the Congress of the United States. He lied to Congress. He lied to Congress. If anybody else did that, it would be considered a crime. Nobody is above the law, not the President of the United States and not the Attorney General. Being the Attorney General does not give you a bath to go say whatever you want, and it is the fact because you are the Attorney General.
Poor Ivan. Ivan's a little confused. You know, a lot of you Republicans are struggling with what to do because Trump endorses Kissinger and you hate Kissinger. But yet you look at Pelosi and say she's scum too. So I feel for you. I don't like Pelosi either, but I think Pelosi should be moving toward impeachment, not away from impeachment. So I think she should get a lot tougher, and she should get the handcuffs out and go after William Barr. That's my take. There you go. And we got the original My Beautiful Cat Fluffy created this cool banner available for us right here. Thank you very much, My Beautiful Cat Fluffy. And thanks for hanging out for a little 10 more minutes in ProCams. And we got stealth mode in there too. Yeah, I can see that. Right on, man. Peace. Many of you people are in your basements working on your gun collection. We support gun rights here. I thank you for coming in and looking at a centrist movement as an alternative to the Republican two-facedness. But these are the distractions that Trump has on the agenda, and it's not pleasant. It isn't. Well, Kissinger wants total domination, New World Order domination of all areas, including South China Sea. Yeah. They would love to be able to tell China what to do. There's evidence that there are elements within China that control a large portion of their activities that are driven by monetary gain. And those capitalists are emerging as powerful players in the Chinese government. However, Chinese government still has an ironclad control over its people, much like the communist state of Mao Zedong. So in no way is China run by rich capitalists. They still linger in that world that cannot be controlled by the global elitists. So they would love to be able to pressure China into doing anything. But I think what's happening right now is Trump is playing what he thinks is hardball with China when he needs to do a soft sell. He needs a reverse position and be a much more soft, careful, diplomatic person, as opposed to, we're going to arrest Meng. She was doing some very bad things, technological rip-offs going on, all kinds of violations of U.S. patent intellectual law. And then he goes on to hate the Chinese on all levels. That's not the way to negotiate. You just can't start a negotiation with China when you're holding their premier female leading executive arrested and waiting charges for what? Economic sanctions, violations against Iran? That's ridiculous. Yes, Pete Buttplug is fluent in many languages. It's true. Well, I don't think we need to be scared from a guy who likes to have butt sex with his brother. Or, I mean, his friend, rather. Did I say brother? Sorry. His friend. I think that alone is going to cost Pete Buttplug the entire election. So let's not kid ourselves. If the Democrats want to choose Joe Biden, he's a stronger contender against Donald Trump. Just today, Joe Biden was vindicated by a Ukrainian prosecutor. He said, Mr. Biden did nothing wrong. And so now we can't pin the Ukrainian manipulation of Ukrainian activities to protect his son Hunter on Joe Biden. So Joe Biden seems to be Teflon Joe. They couldn't pit any of the mishandling of children. And we have lots of photographs of him touching children indecently. I mean, we don't have to go very far to do that. Yeah.
What my dad used to say, your granddaughters have one important job. Take care of the pop. That's the most important one.
Okay, and the gentleman with the baby, could you guys come over to the front? Okay, yeah, can I get a couple of you, just few of you here? Long day, a lot of walking in this camp.
That's right, everybody.
Okay, now what he said to this 13-year-old is, you don't know how horny it made him feel standing next to a 13-year-old. And then he says, right after this, ask about the film I made with my daughter, Ashley. That poor girl, she was violated right there by Joe Biden. And then this one, he fawned over her, and he pulled her away from her family and said, can I do a personal picture with her? I mean, this guy, yeah. If he could explain his behavior other than he was inappropriately touching people, let's talk about the inappropriate touching of children, Joe, not just people. Yeah. Not just reaching over to somebody's wife and smelling her hair and putting your... it's just unbelievable. Okay, my beautiful cat Fluffy, thank you for coming in. She took off. There we are. And then we've got stealth mode now. Taking the time to be in the show. And it looks like he's got a little office shop there. He's working on stuff. Maybe improving his... You know, that's the best thing guys can do, really, is open up a man cave office thing to kind of hang out. And there you are. Look at that cool office he has in there. And junk emporium with... Actually, it looks pretty organized. Looks like you got your lawnmower, your sit-down lawnmower. Yeah, you're doing great. Right on, man. I used to know a guy who looked just like you back when I was in 5th grade. It's probably the same guy. Yeah, you're not a piano expert, are you? He looks just like a guy I knew when I was in 5th grade. Okay, Dave, do you get permission to give Sarah back massages? You know, I've talked about that on our show. Yes, I do. Sarah really likes back massages, and so she encourages it, and I encourage my back being massaged too. So if you guys want to improve your relationship, go to massages. Believe me, no matter where you're at in your relationship, you need to actually touch each other. No matter how much friction you may have in your relationship, touching has an amazing healing quality. And I urge people to do that if they have a serious problem in the relationship as a very minimum thing. Because touching has this amazing ability to smooth over those bad feelings you may have for each other. Yeah, it's a pretty cool big garage, yeah. A lot of us are facing a lot of personal issues, wanting to get out of debt, not wanting to buy more technology. And everyone thinks, well, should I upgrade my TV to something worth $2,000, $3,000? Hell no. Just use a one that's right now. You can get a decent 50-inch LED TV in America for probably around $400. So why would you spend $2,000 on a TV? You have to think about your purchases, and you're better off not in debt just because you want to have a new TV. We are doing things on request tonight, yes. You want to have what's going on in real time. Hold on, please.
Hey, do you ever wonder, like, what is going on? I mean, like, do you ever, like, wake up or do something, and you're just like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah. I have. What's going on? And I found out what's going on, and the more I find out, the more disturbing it gets. You got a 32-inch LED for $50 or $50 to $75 at a pawn shop. There you go. Now you're really saving money. David, did you see they have a 219-inch TV? It goes from wall to wall. It's big. I've never seen that. No, I've seen like 75-inch TVs, but never 219-inch. Well, they are doing like 16K in Beijing. Believe it or not, we're not leading in technology anymore. America in the TV sector is really following technology. In Beijing and in Japan and Tokyo, you could get 16K TV screens. So the whole 200-inch wall would be covered in 16K. I mean, you can imagine the quality. It'd be like walking into reality. That's okay, Bengalitis. We don't give you a timetable to come in here, so you can come in anytime you want. How far down the rabbit hole are you at present? Well, right now, Giantess, I am of the belief that the Zionist takeover of our country is in full swing. And I'm about halfway down the rabbit hole on that one, but if I could uncover the elements within the Zionist conspiracy, I'd be going a little farther down the rabbit hole. And eventually you run into the reality that these people have been manipulating our politics from outside the country for many, many years. It's not a conspiracy theory, it's a fact. So, we know that the Bushes were key elements of the Nazi takeover of our country. Prescott Bush really did. He did an amazing job for money laundering for Adolf Hitler. The father of George H.W. and the grandfather of George W. was a money launderer for Adolf Hitler. So they've embedded themselves, these Nazis have embedded themselves in our government, and we are now dealing with the after effects. And who are these people? Well, they're Zionists connected to AIPAC and also connected to the oligarchs in Russia. They work through Chabad Leibovich, which is Donald Trump's organization, where Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump go. And this is how they made the connection to the Russian oligarchs. Meanwhile, the Vatican is watching and trying to pursue the ultimate goal of the Rothschilds, which handle their money. The Vatican banks with the Rothschilds, so they want, the future to turn into a new world order, a global world order. And then behind the scrim, you've got something dating back nearly 500 years to Sir Francis Drake and the origin of the Masons, in which they wanted to turn America into the new Atlantis. And there's actually a really good CD series on that if you ever want to get one of the library. It's called The New Atlantis. Phenomenal. It talks about the Masonic growth of our country and how they built Washington, D.C. and everything. So all that's at play as we go down the rabbit hole. Okay. Oh, here you go. We got a choice between one person that looks a little odd, Representative Nadler, and another person that looks a little odd, William Barr. Who wants to probe who? Yeah. Time to probe the FBI. I think this is going to hurt. That's hilarious. Gary Barble. Yeah, very good, Gary. But I don't think Representative Nadler's body type is something you should make fun of just because he likes to eat at delis. He's doing good work. Okay, Gary? Dave, Samsung has a 219-inch... Yeah, I know. When I read the chat from 2 hours ago, it starts to, rehash what I said earlier. These guys go into foreign countries like Venezuela and Thailand and make ladyboys and experimentation with the masculinity of men. You better believe Mengele started this all. Yeah, exactly. Well, it turns out a lot of the Nazis wanted to leave Germany, and what better way than to pretend that they were Jewish? So right after we won World War II, a lot of our Jewish synagogues grew in size, and the largest synagogue of all was Chabad Leibovich. It's the biggest synagogue in America. It's spread all over the country. And Chabad Leibovich was a place for a lot of Ashkenazis to come over and become Jewish. Now, Ashkenazis are not Jewish, despite what you may think. Their mother's mother is not Jewish. Even Hasidic Jews resent the idea that these Ashkenazis even call themselves Jewish. So therein lies a big problem. The Rothschilds are Ashkenazis. All these people near Donald Trump are Ashkenazis, just like around Hitler. Himmler was an Ashkenazi. Goering was an Ashkenazi. Hitler was an Ashkenazi. And that's why they called them Nazis back then. But you won't find that written anywhere because they've been very careful to exclude that from any history book or wiki. But the reality is these Ashkenazis came over here to evade any detection as Nazis. We were taught misinformation in our World War II classes, unfortunately. Not many people figured this out. And while Prescott Bush was money laundering, while he was doing the work of Adolf Hitler, luckily for us, J. Edgar Hoover, the guy everyone calls a homo now, was the one guy that stood up and spotted this and put it out there. Now, I don't necessarily believe that his personal life has anything to do with the father of the FBI, but the real origin of the FBI, J. Edgar Hoover's world, was about getting dirt on these Nazis. Now, that's the problem. They vilified him. He's some raging homosexual in the eyes of the history books now. But J. Edgar Hoover was doing everything he could to stop this activity. And even Joe McCarthy did everything he could to stop the communists from taking over our country. But look at our history books. Both men, J. Edgar Hoover and Joe McCarthy, were both vilified as being bad guys and attacking the communists, and they shouldn't have blacklisted all those nice Hollywood people and all that stuff. You see how they rewrite history? They want our country to devolve into socialism or fascism. They really do. And they don't want people like me to come up with great new ideas, you know. Obviously, dealing with these problems that are currently Trump's biggest diversions, it's just like, I think our intelligence community is triaging this one right now and saying, no, we're not going to attack Iran. And even Trump says, no, I didn't mean I was going to attack it, but I wanted to. And then we haven't even mentioned North Korea because North Korea is kind of a Russian move. They're pretending like we're going to make peace with North Korea, and they don't even know what that is. Trump hasn't even articulated what denuclearization is. In fact, he can't even pronounce the word. If you ask Trump to pronounce the word denuclearization, can you do it? I challenge him. I don't even think he can pronounce the word. We're going to do the big word thing. So that's a side issue that I don't even think has any importance right now. It was all a Russian thing. The meeting in Singapore, the meeting in Hanoi, was all put on by Lavrov. And Lavrov completely screwed Kim Jong-un over when he revealed the 900,000 bottles of vodka purchase to international traders. They took over the shipment and it was sent right back to Russia. I mean, what a complete scam. They lured Kim Jong-un out of North Korea to do that. Can you imagine? I'm not feeling sorry for Kim Jong-un because he's a mass murderer, but I mean, they literally lured him out to meet Trump in Hanoi to take our mind off the Russian collusion issue. And Putin thinks he's got this whole thing wrapped up. He's laughing at everybody like it's all a big joke. America has been completely hijacked by the Russian thing. It absolutely is going forward. There's more than enough evidence to keep this thing alive all the way to the end of Donald Trump's 4 years as president. There's still new things popping up everywhere in this case. Hey, you lost another kidney stone. Right on. Hopefully you'll get clear of those things. Wow. Poor Anita has been battling her kidney stones, and she's in her room in lots of pain at night, and she's one of our bigger chatters in the wee hours of the morning. And because she wakes up early in pain, but you're going to feel better pretty soon. Yeah, hopefully you will. Yeah, hopefully we won't get into a war with Iran. I don't think it's going to happen necessarily. John Kelly's out of the scene. That's why Trump's doing all these weird things. Okay, there was a pregnant Chicago woman who died today. Oh, it's pretty sad. A missing pregnant Chicago woman has been found dead. Her baby was forcibly removed from her womb, police say. Wow. They grabbed the baby literally and left her for dead.
Finishing the search of Marlon.
Porque hasta este momento fue que ellos estuvieron un poco más cerca de.
If it wasn't because of your help and your support, we would have not been able to find her, even if it wasn't in the best ways, but at least we know that now we know where she's at.
Grieving mother about her loss of her daughter, and now they're wondering what happened to the baby, I'm sure. The baby was cut from her womb, police and family members said. The newborn was in grave condition and not expected to survive. 3 people were charged with the death of Marlon Okocha-Uriostigwe. On Thursday, police said Clarissa Figueroa, 46, and her daughter Desiree Figueroa, 24, were charged with murder. And Desiree confessed to helping her mother strangle Ochoa Uriostigwe with a coaxial cable. Oh my God. They knew each other from previous exchanges of baby clothes. Ah, unbelievable. Don't hang out with other mothers. Exchange baby clothes. My condolences to her family for their loss. Exactly. Wow. Trump didn't build the wall because he couldn't. Yeah, he didn't know how. He's too busy distracting and diverting our attention from things. The wall can be built, no question about it. But we need jobs right now in America. And we have a job plan. The Homestead Renewal Plan will introduce technologies like solar rooftops that could be rolled out on top of roofs and glued down and then riveted down to the roof itself, making a brand new roof for people. And this technology was developed by the Army Corps of Engineers and could easily be implemented right now. But we're not doing that. Trump isn't advancing technology in any way. And a lot of houses need to be fixed up, and we've got people and money in our system right now to allocate for home improvement. And if the government can flip houses with our Homestead Renewal Plan, we can build jobs at $15 an hour up to $25 an hour. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for saying that. Yes, shrimp scampi is one of my favorite dishes. I love that. I'll never forget Mama Leone's back in New York had the best shrimp scampi. They no longer exist. The greatest Italian restaurant in the world no longer exists, but well, let's be clear. I'm trying to look more like Barack Obama. So if I look like Donald Trump, there's some sort of a problem here. Well, I am not looking like Donald Trump. I want to look more like Barack Obama. That's why I did a blackface video. So I look more like Barack Obama. People just didn't get that, you know? It's like, I think looking like Obama makes more sense from my perspective. Like here he is one day where a fly was just inextricably stuck on his face. And he didn't want to move it. I just never understood that. I mean, if I have a fly on my face, I swat it. Well, let's be clear. Well, let's be clear. David would not know what a fly was. Now, Michael and I are intimately involved in a transgender relationship. And I want to say that Michael's very, very, very cute. I like the way he works out. Makes his abs look real tight. You can imagine what's going on with that guy. What's really going on with that guy, you know? Flies are attracted to demons. I definitely don't think I'm like Jimmy Carter. I don't find anything you're saying very interesting. Because as a Baptist, I feel that you're racist. Everything you're saying is racist. But I did lust after a Playboy magazine when I was with Rosalind in the bathroom at a Union 76 gas station on my way to 3 Mile Island. I think Michelle's the one owning the pants in that relationship. I hate to say it, but Barack Obama comes off as a catcher, not a pitcher. All right, so we're going to build that fence one way or another, guys. We're not going to sit back and accept Donald Trump's BS like he wants to give it to a big company and have them make the fence. I said this earlier, and I'll say it again to repeat. Had Donald Trump addressed the DACA issue when the Democrats talked about it initially, and Jared Kushner couldn't even respond to it today, had Donald Trump addressed the DACA issue then, he would have gotten $25 billion awarded to him by the Democrats. See how he cut himself off there despite himself? Yeah, he really screwed up there by not allowing for the dream actors to stay in the country and have assurances they're not going to be kicked out, but to still have a pathway to citizenship like any other immigrant, having to take the 100-question test, etc., etc. You don't like crawfish and shrimp, really? Well, I really do enjoy shrimp. I would love to see the Louisiana area revamped with a brand new technology. And we talked about this a couple nights ago. I'd like to see a harbor built in Louisiana, near New Orleans. And it turns out there's a project that's going on right now with the Army Corps of Engineers, speaking of them, called the Jericho Land Movement Program, where they're actually taking a chunk of New Orleans and scaling it back. This section right here is the only area that would be impacted in creating a harbor in New Orleans that would be dredged. And Lake Pontchartrain would definitely be a deeper body of water, and I would envision this whole area here to be a fantastic aquaponics solution for fisheries. Take care, _. Yeah. The horror working for the Department of Homeland Security woke you up to the immigration problem. Wow. Okay. Believe me, it's sad. Thank you for telling me, _. Well, dredging this area is not something that would be bad. It would actually open up tremendous amount of ocean view property. There would be a possibility that there's property right in here that would be fantastic for the government has a base right near here, Camp Leroy Johnson, and could be easily sold or leased to Disneyland. And even though there's areas that are not being used there at this camp, it's by and large pretty much empty. All of this camp could be utilized for like parking, and a Disneyland-like structure could be put right there, keeping the SUNO housing establishment just the way it is. The FBI has an office right there too. But anyway, the New Orleans area has great potential, I think, for clean, filtered water, raising fish naturally with no toxins. I think that would really boost our economy in the Southeast. Yes, Pitoro, my Fukushima plan is a very good one. The technology that we have right now could easily fix the Fukushima crisis initially. And I even emailed this to the director of the IAEA, and he didn't do a damn thing with it. Unfortunately, didn't respond to my email. But the idea has been out there for almost 10 years now, going on 10 years. Fukushima is still draining into the ocean at 5 swimming pools a day filled with water, potentially contaminating the entire Pacific Ocean. Makes for a big problem for all of us. But the original idea for Fukushima was to provide a block, put an aircraft carrier right in the ocean, right where the bay hit the ocean. So if we block that entrance right there, and it could be the USS whatever, it wouldn't matter, if we put a sunken destroyer there, we could block the water, which would prevent the massive flow of nuclear contaminated water into our Pacific Ocean. That's one idea. And I have another idea that's equally good, of putting mounds on top of the reactors that could actually seal away a lot of the radiation that's venting out of these reactors every day. 400 tons every day. Yeah, that's right, Pitoro. The amount of liquid is coming down off the mountain. And the mountain of Fukushima, right. Mount Fukushima. Yes. Mount Fukushima. So here's a mountain idea, the idea that I have, which is to have robotic vehicles, or possibly human-driven, depending on how dangerous the radiation level is. Have them build mounds and carve away from the area around this area. Around the Fukushima Bay area could be expanded out, but a really deep U-shaped irrigation canal could be dug around it like that, preventing runoff from Mount Fukushima, which is behind here at a 5% grade, from going in through the reactor and heading on into the bay. If we did that U-shaped diversion, we'd have enough soil to put on top of every one of these mounds, and the entire array of 6 reactors could be eventually covered. It's a very realistic plan that could be implemented over time and done with robotics, like I said. The creation of a fast breeder reactor could get rid of 97% of the fuel, which is dangerously underground right now. We could have access points where we have dug tunnels underneath the mountains too to get to this. But this, combined with blocking the exit out into the bay, would be the best solution for Fukushima, in my opinion. Otherwise, we're going to be breathing and drinking and eating the food from the Pacific Ocean for decades and centuries to come. And it's only going to get worse because the corium is still melting and it's still leaching into the water there. We're doing nothing to get rid of the original corium, which is a huge leak. Lake Charles has had one of the biggest ports for ships. Oh, really? Okay. Port of Lake Charles, Louisiana, exactly. It has a big shipping port. Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to continue. What I'm thinking, Sunstar, is an expansion of that area. That's all I'm shooting for. Yeah, I didn't realize that there is a shipping lane there that takes in ships, but I'm sure that the port could be expanded. But just count on an area that could open up to cleaner filtered water to that region. I'm more concerned about the water that's getting near the shellfish, because I don't trust the shrimp right now from Louisiana. I just don't. I saw too many contamination issues over the years that led me to believe that the shrimp there is still dealing with the oil spill. So I really want much better federally mandated EPA control over the quality of water going to the fish, and open up opportunities for shrimperies that were displaced, that couldn't even, get their act going. So open up a whole new vista of aquaponics opportunities for a lot of the people that were pushed away from the shoreline because of the terrible Gulf of Mexico oil spill. Yeah, nobody trusts the lobster or the shrimp down there, Well, the theme parks were great for autistic kids, Sammy. When we went to last April, not recently, but a year ago April, we went to Disneyland, and we saw this young man, he was like 21 years old, riding on It's a Small World. And the lady said that he'd been on it 57 times that day, and he comes back every day, and he gets on that boat, and they give him the boat to himself, and he rides that ride, and his parents paid for the annual pass. They just drop him off at Disneyland, and he loves it. He gets on that ride, and every day he rides around a circle. It's a small world after all. And all this visual stimulation seems to pacify him. And his parents are getting a pretty good value, I think, considering he's functional. But he likes to have these visual displays around him to make himself calm down due to his autism. So for the cost of an annual pass, about $1,000, they're able to put their kid on a Disneyland ride every day, and he doesn't mind. When you think about it, that's not a bad way to deal with a situation like that. It's kind of funny. Yes, nuclear coffin leaking radioactive waste in the Pacific Ocean warns a UN chief. Thank you.
This here is really huge.
3-minute video on the nuclear coffin, Pacific Ocean. Okay, that's relevant. Thank you. It is Dabu 7, who's probably a government shill, but whatever.
News. When the earthquakes hit Fukushima, Japan, and all that started to go into the ocean, a lot of people realized this was a big event.
Exactly. And Dabu 7 is going to go into scare mode, fear and scare mode on that one. I'll play it later. Thank you. Disneyland's always the same, yeah. Hasn't changed, the prices went up, so I gave up going there, really. Well, I grew up in Disneyland, pretty much. My parents ran a day camp in the 1960s, and I had an incredible time at Disneyland. The best years of my life, my first 5 years, I literally went to Disneyland like 4 times every year. And then later in life, I went, periodically up until my 18th birthday. I think we went to Disneyland as part of the prom night. Disneyland was a prom night, and then, graduate. I was 17 when I graduated, so up until my 17th year. I love Disneyland. I had a lot of good times there. You've been there like 20 times? I've been there like 45 times overall. Yeah, Sunstar loves Disneyland. What I noticed about Disneyland is it is one of the most incredibly well-managed businesses I've ever seen. It bar none. It's heads and tails above every other business I've ever seen run. It's run like clockwork. This entire system, and they're talking about some of the people that are working there can't really afford to live there anymore because the price of real estate and rentals near Anaheim has become so great that they can't even afford to work and live there. They live in their car just to work at Disneyland. So I have a couple ideas I'd like to pitch Disneyland on. One of them is a New Orleans location, a new revamped and built up technology port that is completely filtering water so that everything that's in there is the cleanest water you can grow shrimp, fish, clams, whatever. We'll have mussel farms, we'll have clam farms, we'll have shrimperies. It'll just be incredible. I want to see U.S. production of fish skyrocket as one of the primary growth points in our economy. I want to see fishing the #1 priority. And I don't mean GMO salmon, even though they're out there already. I'm talking about developing fisheries where we expand out the development of trout and other things to include large production facilities that are really focused on good quality food, not the toxic fish we're getting out of Norway right now, or they feed the fish to the fish. It's wrong what they're doing. They're chopping up fish with all kinds of toxins and antibiotics in them, and then desiccating them, drying it out, and then feeding it back to the fish, which creates more and more toxicity in the farm-raised fish. That should be outlawed in America. I agree. Disney is overrated and overpriced BS on that because it is so expensive. But the thing is, and I don't like to admit this because I'm very cost conscious. I'm very interested in saving money, and I would not go to Disneyland because it's so expensive now. But people are still going. I was blown away by the economy down in LA a year ago. I couldn't believe how much money was rolling into Los Angeles. It still baffles me as to how that economy is just pumping away. I've never seen anything like it. And it's just a tremendous amount of valuation and price. Property values have gone way up. People are still trying to sell their houses. They are selling their houses. And it's seemingly still moving. So, I mean, LA is a very unique example of how the economies are continuing to grow in America, which is a good sign. It really is. I don't think it's a problem if they can't get anybody to go in there. They'll have to lower their price. That's called supply and demand. So if they didn't get 45,000 people rolling in there every day at Disneyland, paying $150 a pop, in one location, and you want to go to California Adventure, you pay another $150, or you can get the two together for, you know, what, 180 or something. It's ridiculous now. But yeah, they really know how to make money. I've never seen anything like it. It's a true example of capitalism gone wild. Well, yeah, I'm not big on roller coasters. Sarah and I got stuck on the Cars ride, but we actually enjoyed it. You get in a car and it takes you on a roller coaster ride. And it was wild. It was fun, but it was about the edge I wanted to go on. I didn't want anything more crazy than that, because you're literally being thrown around. The car is like, and then they're snapping pictures of you as you go by. Ah! It was fun. I'm glad we went, but I wouldn't go back right away because the cost is so great. Well, the fact is they keep buying gas-guzzling SUVs and big houses. I know. And then they complain they're not making enough as they make $100,000 a year. There's a lot of people like that in America, and they will take a big loss as our economy shrinks. And it is shrinking. But I'm still amazed at how big it is. And Sarah was talking about that on Wednesday, about the buying power of our country and how it's good to have a deficit. And she's right. I mean, the fact that we even have a deficit that's so large implies that we still have a lot of buying power and we buy a lot of stuff. And people still sell to us, but I guess China's changing their attitude now that Trump screwed everything up. I'm okay with the idea of merit-based immigration. I just don't really understand why he doesn't want to include the DACA, carry the DACA people over, at least give them a moratorium, unlimited moratorium on prosecution, in essentially making them permanent green card holders. I don't understand what the big deal is, because those people were led to believe that they would someday gain the ability to have or take the test to become a U.S. citizen. So I think Trump should really bend on the DACA thing and let the Democrats in. I said earlier, he lost it big time when he didn't agree with the Democrats early on 2 years ago. He lost $25 billion for a wall. So in a way, you can blame Trump for not building the wall right now, because he had the opportunity. He could have. So now he's dealing with an issue of what I think is most important about his immigration thing is that he's not able to deal with the flow any different than a Barack Obama. He's sending them to sanctuary cities, which shows that Donald Trump is exactly like Barack Obama. And he merely grabbed my idea of a 1,000-mile fence in order to win an election. And clearly, this idea still stands, and I even turned it into a practical container fence that we can build with multiple 225,000 containers stacked together to put the 1,000 miles together for only $1 billion. But Trump doesn't follow my ideas too closely, apparently. Well, merit-based immigration it puts the onus of access to this country on the person applying for citizenship or applying for asylum. We have to see a need for them to fit into our country. Not just anybody. I mean, if this person is a criminal, we can't fit them into our country. So we set the criteria for who comes into the country. We've already set the criteria to not include criminals. If you have a criminal background in any other country, you can't come into our country. That automatically gets you expelled and sent back. But Trump's gone about this all bass-ackwards, basically. He didn't prepare for the 450 or 4,500 kids that are missing. He had a zero-tolerance plan, which is absurd, which has created so many long-term problems in immigration that we're now dealing with. His travel ban was absurd. It was discriminatory toward Muslims, and then corrected that by not allowing people from Venezuela or North Korea in, claiming that in no way was he targeting Muslims, when in fact he was targeting Muslims, and he's still targeting Muslims, which is prejudicial and discriminatory. Yes, the White House launched an active investigation into the reports of collusion in 2016 between Ukraine and the Democratic National Committee. The problem is Ukraine just announced that the prosecutor in Ukraine just announced that Biden was not involved. Yeah. According to the Ukrainian prosecutor, Biden did nothing wrong. So Donald Trump can launch all the investigations he wants. Meanwhile, William Barr is going to be facing contempt charges, and Donald's going to have to deal with the reality that he's got felons working for him as attorney generals. Yeah, Ukraine prosecutor said no evidence of wrongdoing by the Bidens. So it's kind of a non-starter. Biden was protecting Hunter from prosecution by manipulating foreign policy. And according to the prosecutor themselves, there was no wrongdoing. Ukraine's prosecutor general said in an interview he had no evidence of wrongdoing in the U.S. Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden or his son, despite a swirl of allegations by Trump's lawyer. Yeah, so I don't think that's going to go anywhere. Joe is like Teflon Joe. He's like Teflon Bill and Teflon Donald. These guys don't face any real oversight by our media. Remember, Joe Biden is a Zionist, and so is Donald Trump. So really the American people are not even clued in on the dangers of Zionism. That's why I talk about it on our show. Zionism led to Adolf Hitler. Hitler was a Zionist too, just like Biden. That's one thing Biden and Hitler share, being a Zionist. Many of us don't realize that this notion of Zionism preceded World War II.
There is this inextricable tie between culture, religion, ethnicity that most people don't fully understand. That is unique and, how can I say it? So strong with Jews worldwide. There is a, I mean, you know, I used to say early on when I was a kid, I'd say, when I was a young senator, I'd say, if I were a Jew, I'd be a Zionist. I am a Zionist. You don't have to be a Jew to be a Zionist.
There you go. And we know Trump is a Zionist because he protects Jerusalem like it was his holy land that he himself is inheriting.
Is one of quite a few people today saying,
good night, Sunstar. Thanks for coming in. Sleep well. What do you mean? No, the video of him talking does count. I know. Biden will slip you the finger if you hold his hand too long. Like grab his hand, he's like, hi, how you doing? And he'll do that Illuminati Zionist handshake where then he'll do you the finger underneath there. Yeah, he's a real slippery guy, I'll tell you. I wouldn't get him near a jar of KY jelly and a bunch of a bunch of wayward women from their unhappy in their marriages. It could be a kind of a weird world we live in. I know. Joe is a little slippery. He slicks his hair, whatever hair he has left, back on his head to make himself look a little bit younger. But no wrongdoing in the case of Hunter, according to the Ukrainians. So they bought off the Ukrainians. They don't want to in any way make anybody in the Democratic National Committee upset. So Trump's going to have a hard time proving that one. Trump is worried about his Mar-a-Lago income. Apparently, he only made $448 million last year, or $434 million in 2018. And Mar-a-Lago income has suffered because nobody wants to, go to a place that is run by a racist, liar, homophobe, you name it, dictator. So, yeah. I think he's blaming his sons, Eric and Donald Jr., for not increasing revenue. You can't have it all. Trump is derailing the California high-speed rail project, pulling $1 billion in funding. Well, I agree with him on that one. That's full of Democratic pork barrel spending. I would pull the high-speed rail program too. It's a joke. See, Trump and I are not that far off. When he stole 15 of my ideas and pretended like he was going to implement them, it was his attempt to actually at least tacitly endorse what I'm doing by stealing my ideas. I have to like a lot of the ideas he has because they're mine. Now, since Trump is really not an official president, since he lied, cheated, and stole the election, I'm sure that we now have to have the question whether Trump has any authority to make any decisions. He doesn't take in the minutes from top military advisors. That's done secretly, and Jared Kushner ironically sits there and listens to all the top intel, even though he shouldn't, and has no reason to, considering he tried to reach out and make a private connection with the Kremlin prior to the election. Jared Kushner should be charged with a felony for that. But Donald Trump he's not engaged in understanding the military aspect of our country. So when he said the things he said about Iran last week, he actually went against his own intel and the Pentagon. And they're having to reel back from what he said. And even he said, well, I wasn't going to attack after all. Apparently, Donald Trump doesn't understand the severity of his tweets and how they impact the world around him. But that's what makes him incompetent and shouldn't be president. And all the more reason why we should be looking to impeachment, not standing and endorsing him like a bunch of mindless Trump tards that are in this room right now going, I don't understand why you don't support our president. Because we don't want to have a nuclear war, you stupid idiot. Yeah. So while you sit there and parade around like this guy's got the best thing since sliced bread with a deal with Putin, you're standing in the way of our country actually succeeding. You people with your brains so far up your ass, you have no idea what you're thinking because it's all fake news to you. Oh, it's all fake news. I can't talk about it. You're the ones that are creating this problem, which is now the puppet of Vladimir Putin, and you call him our president. We might as well call Vladimir Putin your president, too, because he's in control of our country. Yeah. He's one phone call away from telling Donald Trump whatever Trump has to do to keep those sex tapes from being revealed, from having any of his financial notes with Deutsche Bank recalled. That's all Putin has to do is make a couple phone calls and Trump's in deep crap. So are you officially behind the Trump-Putin 2020 campaign? It's getting virality. A lot of Republicans are really thinking about this as the next big step for Trump, is to just admit he works for Putin and have him as his running mate. Yeah. I think that would be a pretty bold move. Make America Russia again. Mara, make America Russia again. That's right. They owned Alaska at one time. Now they will own all of America. You're bored? I have intensity, you bet. I'm feeling confident. But Misanthropy's bored because he doesn't really believe this is ever going to turn into anything. That's the sad part about cynicism. It doesn't go anywhere. You're not going to revive your life by being cynical. Name one self-help book out there that says, okay, life sucks, and you're right. Blame it on everybody else. Feel good about the fact that it's all their fault. There's not one self-help book like that. You can't find a book like that. Yeah. It's not everyone else's fault. It's up to you whether you want to look positive on the future. All right. Your minds aren't thinking like that, yeah. Well, we can think any way we want. Oh, come on. Russian interference is obvious. Yeah. You can't see that? My God. He's had 7.5 hours of private phone calls with Vladimir Putin. Not one single transcript, even after he was under investigation, and still to this day has not produced one single transcript of any meetings at all with Vladimir Putin. I'm sorry, but that's hiding things. That's not transparency. I think you Republicans are so busy trying to cover the fact that you're secretly gay that, you know, the chicken hawk Republicans, they don't understand the meaning of transparency. I wouldn't doubt there's probably half the Republican Party is at home jacking off to gay porn. Dave, looks positive in the future. That's right. They're going to depopulate the country if we don't stop this. And if people like you don't wake up and realize what I'm trying to do to help save this nation, you'll never get back in the room. I'm serious. There's a lot of chicken hawk Republicans out there. That's why they're all so repressed. No, I'm serious. There's still, believe me, I would be remiss in saying that Republicans aren't that way, when in fact they turn up that way all the time. That's right. Jeff Zucker is a Zionist. He's good friends with Donald Trump too. And how do you explain CNN's friction with Donald Trump? Trump has not turned out to be all that bad. Well, apparently you haven't bought anything at Walmart lately. When did you go to Walmart and you get pissed off that they charge 30% more for a product that you were used to buy it for 30% less? Then you'll tell me how great Donald Trump has been so far. There's Project Mockingbird is a secret project, has nothing to do with Jeff Zucker and Donald Trump. They're close friends. The friction is all created. If you're saying Project Mockingbird creates friction in order for us to see that there's supposedly some sort of big disharmony going on between the left and the right, that's all largely theater. Yeah, the Democrats, Republicans agree on money and the money the corporations give them. They largely agree about everything. And if Putin and Trump could run again in 2020, that'd be great. A lot of people would want that. Okay, let me get a new backdrop for you. There we go. A new one, yeah. Tariffs have ruined our country in so many ways. There's not one economic revival that has tariffs at its primary beginning. There's not one economic turnaround in history where tariffs preceded it. So tariffs are an economy killer. Well, I'm not saying the CIA doesn't control the media. I'm saying that Jeff Zucker is a good friend with Donald Trump. And even though he's in charge of CNN, they're close friends. And what we're seeing is largely theater. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I did watch your video, Miss Anthropy. I went into the other room, and I do like to listen to audiobooks or watch, certain things, educational things, when I'm eating my dinner. So I watched your 30-minute video, and I agree that in order to get out of your comfort zone, you have to appear a little mad and break through away from the norms if you want to achieve anything new. And the only way to have quote unquote success is through that newness, which is very difficult to do because everything tends toward the comfort zone. Like even me and doing this show is comfortable, and everything new becomes comfortable eventually. Master Meatball 3 wants to know if anyone would like to help him on a news reporting project. Drop him a message. You need to work on breaking out of your comfort zone? Not that I'm aware of, A Spade. I have a couple of books that I really liked that helped me break out of my comfort zones. I guess, aren't we the same age, Miss Anthropy? Or are you younger than me? I don't know. Anyway, they're by Peter McWilliams. He's now dead, but I really enjoyed his books. And yes, they are self-help books, but they're, one is called Life 101. Everything we wish we learned about life in school, but didn't. Okay, you're 35. Okay, that's, yeah. Anyway, and the other one's called Do It. Need something about getting off our butts, like our excuses. But in there, it really talks about the comfort zone, and it's very good because, ironically, that really helped me push my comfort zones. Because the thing is that with comfort zones in that book, it talks about how the less you do, the smaller and smaller your world becomes. And the more you test your comfort zone, your comfort zone actually grows. So every time you try something new, it's frightening and scary. But once you try it, you can do it again, and then it becomes actually, after about 3 times, it's actually part of your current comfort zone. So if you want to continually test the boundaries, then that's the only way that your comfort zone grows bigger. And if you just sit there and do nothing, eventually your comfort zone shrinks to where you're just inside your own self and you can't even say and converse with anyone else. So I do continuously push myself. It was pretty interesting. Recently, I sat down and I decided to make a list of, I would say, leadership things I've done to feel like I'm a leader, to push myself in the past, 6 years. And each year I keep thinking, I'm going to cut back here, I'm going to cut back there. And it just grows and grows and grows. And I've done so much. I didn't really realize that because I've been just so busy being active and pushing my comfort zone that it's like, whoa, I have been one busy lady. I've been very busy, very productive, and I feel good. It was like I sold myself on myself. If that makes sense. It's like, because sometimes I think, well, it's just me. Like, I'm not that important and I'm not that great. But then I was like, wow, I'm pretty great. I'm pretty good. Started getting a little ego maybe, which hopefully you realize I don't really have an ego, and I don't want to be someone with a big ego. But I did start to get a little bit of an ego recently. Because I have been very busy and I have a lot to offer the world. And I have given a lot to the world already. Thank you, 195. Ah, dang. Hopefully you see her again. Once you do, the thing is that the worst thing that can happen, it's always like, that's one of the things I liked about this book by Peter McWilliams, is that, people always say, oh, I can't do this and I can't do that. They limit themselves because of fears. And the book is a lot about fears. And if one of the biggest things that we fear is rejection. Like, we're afraid to apply for a new job because what if they don't hire me? We're afraid to ask a friend to go out to dinner because what if they say no? And we're so afraid of rejection. But a rejection does not hurt us physically. I mean, we might have a little bit of, emotional issue, but we have more emotional issue building up to it than when you're actually rejected. And, well, that's coming from someone. And the other thing is, like, what's the worst that can happen? They say no, and you're in the same situation that you are now. Okay? Like, really? That's not so bad. I'll open the little article for David to read later. Or maybe you're giving that to War Games. Well, I hope you see her. I hope you see her sooner rather than later, Misanthropy. Go to wherever you met her. All right. Tariffs, the taxes that made America great again. Okay, keep trying. I don't know. And know that if you're ever in that situation again, maybe not with the same person, go ahead and get a number. Take the time. Okay, I did not ridicule it, Mad Dog. I was about to read the article. Yeah, if you imported from a foreign country, the consumer is the one that pays both for the product and the tariff. All right, Patrick J. Buchanan, official website. England, biggest consumer of American goods. London Times, continental jealousy, commercial tariff blockade. American products. Tariffs, the taxes that made America great. Help wake up America. Share Pat's columns. That Smoot-Hawley tariff caused the depression. That the Smoot-Hawley tariff caused the depression of the 1930s is a New Deal myth in which America's school children have been indoctrinated for decades.
I don't know if it's bubbles.
It's probably oxygen.
But I don't know if it's bubbles or it's some sort of sediment. It's weird. It's like milky.
Yeah.
Today,
Did you use a tester?
I
The
haven't
zero
tested
water
for chlorine
tester?
or acid. No.
No, but did you use a zero?
I haven't checked that. No, I haven't turned it on.
I didn't.
I'm afraid to.
Don't be. What's the worst that can happen? Why are you
find
afraid?
out that this like 700 parts per million.
Well, give it a try.
I'll tell you what. I'll do it tomorrow. If it's still
Okay.
this way.
I think I only have one regret that I dwell on. But most of the time, I will give you this advice, Misanthropy. Forgive yourself. I'm sure you often forgive others like me and whoever, David, but learn to forgive yourself. I was telling that to myself this morning. The Depression began with the crash of the stock market in 1929, 9 months before the Smoot-Hawley became law. The real villain, the Federal Reserve. Yeah, I agree with that. Americans paid less in taxes when we had tariffs. Are they including sales taxes and income taxes, I take it? Do they have more money to spend? The tariffs are a tax. Alright. As his limo carried him to work at the White House Monday, Larry Kudlow could not have been pleased with the headline in the Washington Post. Kudlow contradicts Trump on tariffs. The story began. National Economic Council Director Lawrence Kudlow acknowledged Sunday that American consumers end up paying for the administration's tariffs on Chinese imports, contradicting President Trump's repeated inaccurate claim that the Chinese foot the bill. A free trade evangelical, Kudlow had conceded on Fox News that consumers pay the tariffs on products made abroad, and that they purchase here in the U.S. Yet, that is by no means the whole story. A tariff may be described as a sales or consumption tax the consumer pays, but tariffs are also a discretionary and optional tax. If you choose not to purchase Chinese goods and instead buy comparable goods made in other nations or the USA, then you do not pay the tariff. China loses the sale. This is why Beijing, which runs $350 billion to $400 billion in annual trade surpluses at our expense, is howling loudest. Should Donald Trump impose that 25% tariff on all $500 billion in Chinese exports to the USA, it would cripple China's economy because people would opt to buy American instead? Possibly? I don't know. Factories seeking assured access to the U.S. market would flee in panic from the Middle Kingdom. Tariffs were the taxes that made America great. They were the taxes relied upon by the first and greatest of our early statesmen before the coming of the globalists Woodrow Wilson and FDR. Tariffs to protect manufacturers and jobs were the Republican Party's path to power and prosperity in the 19th and 20th centuries. Before the rise of the Rockefeller Eastern liberal establishment and its embrace of the British-bred heresy of unfettered free trade. The Tariff Act of 1789 was enacted with the declared purpose, the encouragement and protection of manufacturers. It was the second act passed by the first Congress, led by Speaker James Madison. It was crafted by Alexander Hamilton and signed by President Washington. After the War of 1812, President Madison, backed by Henry Clay and John Calhoun and ex-presidents Jefferson and Adams, enacted the Tariff of 1816 to price British textiles out of competition, so Americans would build the new factories and capture the booming U.S. market. It worked. Yes, okay, misanthropy. You know, I could talk about living on less. Okay, but anyway, have fun. Thank you, Mad Dog. Tariffs financed Mr. Lincoln's war. The Tariff of 1890 bears the name of Ohio Congressman and future President William McKinley, who said that a foreign manufacturer has no right or claim to equality with our own. He pays no taxes, he performs no civil duties. That is economic patriotism, putting America and Americans first. The Forney-McCumber Tariff gave Presidents Warren Harding and Calvin Coolidge the revenue to offset the slashing of Wilson's income taxes, igniting that most dynamic of decades, the Roaring Twenties. That the Smoot-Hawley tariff caused the Depression of the 1930s is a New Deal myth in which America's school children have been indoctrinated for decades. The Depression began with the crash of the stock market in 1929, 9 months before Smoot-Hawley became law. The real villain? The Federal Reserve, which failed to replenish that third of the money supply that had been wiped out by thousands of bank failures. Milton Friedman taught us that. A tariff is a tax, but its purpose is not just to raise revenue, but to make a nation economically independent of others. and to bring its citizens to rely upon each other rather than foreign entities. The principle involved in a tariff is the same as that used by U.S. colleges and universities that charge foreign students higher tuition than their American counterparts. What patriot would consign the economic independence of this country to the invisible hand of Adam Smith in a system crafted by intellectuals whose allegiance is to an ideology, not a people? What great nation did free traders ever build? Free trade is the policy of fading and failing powers past their prime. In the half century following passage of the Corn Laws, the British followed the folly of free trade. They began the second half of the 19th century with an economy twice that of the USA and ended with an economy half of ours, and equaled by a Germany which had, under Bismarck, adopted what was known as the American system. Of the nations that have risen to economic preeminence in recent centuries, the British before 1850, the United States between 1789 and 1914, post-war Japan, China in recent decades, how many did so through free trade? None. All practiced economic nationalism. The problem for President Trump? Once a nation is hooked on the cheap goods that are the narcotic free trade provides, it's rarely able to break free. The loss of its economic independence is followed by the loss of its political independence, the loss of its greatness, and ultimately, the loss of its national identity. Brexit was the strangled cry of a British people that had lost its independence and desperately wanted it back. Is that it? Okay, I read your article. And now for... Oh, thanks. Now shall I read Adam Smith? Because I never really, I mean, he's always referred to everywhere, but... Business, wealth. Yes. Adam Smith, An Inquiry into the Nature and Causes of the Wealth of Nations. I was working on this. Oh. Okay, I actually like John Locke treatise. Let me look if they have it in here. I would think they would have it here. John Locke biography, editors, Introduction to Property and Its Enemies, Part 1. Oh, results found. Would I find it under maybe? I do like John Locke, and I haven't read him in so long. I mean, I remember it. Two treatises, am I saying that? Treatises of government? I don't know if I'm saying that right. Oh, this is a good one. Two Treatises of Government by John Locke. Is that what you want me to read? Advertisement to the present edition. Perhaps the annals of history do not furnish a period more appropriate for the dissemination of the political opinions of the immortal Locke than the present, when sovereigns and governments are eagerly waiting and readily embracing every opportunity to increase their power, and when many of the governed are equally impatient, under the wholesome as well as the more oppressive laws of those that govern, to lay both parties the real origin of the power of the one, and for what purpose it was granted, and the just obedience due by the other, when those purposes tend to the preservation and good of society in general. London, January 1821. Two treatises of government. In the former, the false principles and foundation of Sir Robert Filmer and his followers are detected and overthrown. The latter is an essay concerning the true original extent and end of civil government. I think this is what I do want to read. Let me add this to my library.
John Locke, yeah.
And then, with my favorites and read it.
Great.
All right, we'll read it. We'll be back to read some more tomorrow. I do want to look up Adam Smith before I go.
Yes, we must read chapter of John Locke's treatise so that we can all go to sleep tonight.
Adam Smith, An Enlightened Life.
The Laissez-Faire Economy of Adam Smith. Silent Hand. Yeah. If it was really happening, we'd all have opportunity, wouldn't we? Corporations wouldn't wield their authority over small business, and government wouldn't be hijacked by corporations if Adam Smith's silent hand was working. But the free market has been dead a long, long time. We have socialist, public-supported economic growth, and it's not even growing. It's just, we're feeding a dead horse. Yes, the invisible hand. That's right. Yes, so coming up at the top of the hour, we'll start our meditation. We'll be playing meditation music for about an hour so I can relax and enjoy your time here. Technology Thursday should really be about using the benefits of the rich internet platform to relax all of us. So let's think of a few ways we can relax. The Wealth of Nations. So when you bookmark these things, do you download them directly from your tablet?
No, it's just that, so like now I can go back to books.google.com. They don't download to my tablet, I don't think. And then I just go over here maybe. Oh, I go to my library down here.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have like my favorites. These are the two I'm looking at right now, where I have reading now.
So you just know where to go out you know the website to read it at, so you just access that website.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was doing that essay on concerning human understanding too. I wasn't sure if that's the John Locke I should read or the Two Treatises of Government.
I think they both sound good. I love the way you do books on tape, you know. It's wonderful.
Well, I was thinking I could just read books on
Wow.
tape.
Well, or just listen too. Save your eyes.
No, I know I could save my eyes and listen to books on tape, but I'm saying, like, you know, I could be one of those LibriVox recording people, like
read for people. Oh, I see.
Yeah, so like then other people can save their eyes.
I could read for people.
David has an excellent
I have
voice.
great reading ability. I think that would be a great sideline to kind of get hooked up to a reading opportunity.
Yeah.
That would be good. Because it helps with me to you know, the due diligence of reading. Because I really enjoy episodic TV now. And as much as I like fiction, I enjoy the fiction played out in full video. I'm sure everyone does. I'm not alone here. It saves your eyes from focusing on the content, and just sit back and let somebody play out the fiction that we read in novels years ago.
I just read this whole article for Mad Dog gave it to us. The taxes that made America great again. Anyway, so you can get rid of that. In other words.
Okay. In other words, Pat Buchanan is pushing for tariffs. Gotcha.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm sure Pat wants to endorse anything Trump does. Thanks, Sarah. So you have about 29% of the population max supports Trump. The rest don't. So 29% of the population looks like this and is unable to see this. All right. I think we figured that out. That's not a lot. It's certainly not the majority. Yeah, Trump has a 71% disapproval rating. It's beyond belief. No one likes what he's doing. Even the farmers who would be his core supporters in 2020 are not really keen on what he's been doing with China. As much as I hate GMOs, I wouldn't destabilize the GMO farm business by order of the president. I'd want everyone to look at this scientifically and analyze it without making any severe changes in the dynamic of our existing agricultural system. I want to segue to more natural, friendly, nature-friendly solutions for growing products. Adding genetically modified food to our gene pool is not the key way of solving our food problem, because we do know that it takes more for our body to digest GMO products than it does old-fashioned heirloom seeds. That alone makes me think, be conservative, don't go in the GMO direction. Willie Pickles. Well, I saw those statistics, but you don't have to agree with the statistics, Willie. You can believe whatever you want. Maybe 41% of Americans would still vote for Trump if it was between a guy who is an adulterer and a guy who likes to touch children. I think the adulterer wins out, don't you? Would you vote for an adulterer over a guy who likes to just fondle little children's hair and touch them? A for adultery. Yeah. P for pedo. A beats P in that one. I think Trump would win that case. It will go down to Trump and Biden in the upcoming election. You see, you're right. I think 41% will vote for Trump. No question about it. But if I'm given a chance to even get into the media, I can't even get into the dialogue of the two-party system. So we have a big challenge ahead to get into the dialogue of the two-party system. They don't believe a third party exists, or should it? Yet 57% of the American people polled in a Gallup poll said they want a third party. Tell me that's not a big disconnect. That's complete suppression of freedom in America and censorship of the media, free press. My access to the media is being impaired. Or your access, for that matter. Well, I guess tariffs could be good in the eyes of the people that impose them, but we have to pay the price of a tariff. The American people end up paying that price. And CNN is definitely concerned about the entire ridiculous threat that Trump had against Iran, so much so that they backed a British general on the Iran situation over their own lying president, according to CNN. Listen to this.
I don't see it
Well,
there. It's not been explained to us yet.
To that point, this British general was on the receiving end of a rare rebuke from the Pentagon for saying essentially what you're saying, right? That there was no increased threat from Iranian-backed forces in Syria or Iraq, contradicting recent U.S. claims. State Department says this general is wrong. Given what you have heard, what you know, who do you believe?
Well, I do not trust the president. He is a pathological liar on most everything. And
well, that says it all right there. So now that they said that at CNN, you guys refuse to agree with anything CNN says. So you automatically support Donald Trump's assessment that Iran is a huge threat and a bigger threat than ever before. That's funny. Bomb, 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 Iran. You know, that's probably the end game. What they're really trying to do is they're trying to, stick as much military hardware in Iran so that, attack them with as much military hardware so they can order new. That's what they usually do. They just try to bomb people to get rid of their old weapons. Good point. No, I don't have hair plugs. I just have a thing called hair. Beautiful hair, long sliding hair. Beep, beep, beep. Yeah, I just managed to, I used that avocado shampoo, and it's good. Life is good when you have a head of hair. If you didn't have a head of hair, you wouldn't feel good, right? Some of you are going bald. That's a good reason why you're bumming out. Yeah. Your daily life is altered because of that. Your attitude about yourself is altered. Last night I did Wig Wednesday, and I found out that my wigs look worse than my real hair. And it was the best feeling I've ever had. It's like, wow, I can just forget the wigs. I'm just going to go with my real hair. This is incredible. Yeah, and I stopped Wig Wednesday after that. You're going to shave your head and become cue ball. But doesn't that suck? I mean, it doesn't suck to lose your hair. I know so many guys that are just missing their hair, and it's not your fault. It's genetics. Your mother's carries the line of baldness, and my mother didn't have it. So, how much money is enough? Alki David posts $300,000 bail and films himself fleeing St. Kitts on his private jet after trying to bring $1.3 million worth of cannabis plants onto the island with his billionaire business partner. Yeah, Alki David flaunting his money. Heir to the satellite fortune and the Coca-Cola bottling business, was caught transporting 5,000 cannabis plants worth $1.3 million. There he is, flaunting. He got out. He's showing he posted $300,000 bail. He's out. He's happy. And fled St. Kitts on board his private jet. When you have that kind of money, you can do anything. Yeah. What do we got here? What we have here is a failure to communicate. Well, he claimed he didn't do anything wrong, so we'll have to go with that. Because of Alki David, this world is shit, according to guest note 195. I don't really consider this world that way, but I don't live on the street in, downtown Skid Row either. There is a picture of his plane as he takes off, and there's the cases of marijuana plants that he had. There were traveling partners. Here he was, detained at the airport. There he is looking up at maybe the dollar signs that he has to come up with. There they are. 300,000 and flees St. Kitts. He's out of there. He'll never go back. Well, he'll just eliminate St. Kitts from his travel plans. He won't even have to bother with that. You have hereby been called into court in St. Kitts. You must certainly come here, Mr. Alki David. It's an Alki stunt to get noticed, maybe. I don't know. He's a character. I don't even have I don't even know who he is. I've never seen him talk. I just know he ran Battle Cam and then he gave it up. Oh, yeah. I know. I think he's making sure he looks taller than everybody. He hangs out with people like Armand Assant. I had an opportunity to travel with Armand Assant, and he must be like 5'4" with lifters on his feet. I met him in Hollywood with a friend of mine one day, and he told me that I needed a nose job. Yeah, he said, you need a nose job. And he proceeded to tell me how his father was a famous plastic surgeon in Beverly Hills, and how he was promised a career. He was bound to make, according to him, he'd be a superstar. Guaranteed. And that was this whole conversation, how he'd be a superstar. Well, he's made about 10 movies. He's not a bad actor. He doesn't speak loud enough because you can barely hear him. He kind of whispers his parts, but yeah, he's close friends with Alki David, Armand Assant. Armand Assant. Yeah, probably. That's what happens. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't understand why he said I needed a nose job, but his father was a Beverly Hills plastic surgeon, and he was like this rich kid who knew he would become really... I met him when he was 29 years old, so he's a little older than me. He's about 10 years older than me. But he was, at 29, he was driving his mom's limousine, or mom's Cadillac around, feeling depressed. And then telling me and my friend that his career was laid out for him. He just had an agent. He was going to get him 10 movies. He was going to be a superstar. Because his dad had connections. You meet a lot of people like that in Hollywood. And then you meet people at Denny's at 3 a.m. telling you about how they've got a perpetual motion machine that could take off and have 0-point energy, and they draw it on a napkin for you. That's the kind of people you meet in Hollywood. And the weird thing is, those perpetual motion machines really do work. That's the irony. And people really do use their parents' connections to get very, very wealthy in Hollywood. I mean, you only have to look at Jeff Bridges to know that, without his dad, Lloyd Bridges, he would have been nothing. Without that movie on that TV show with Flipper or whatever, Sequest or whatever the hell they were on. That was a complete, utter nepotism case. Charlie Sheen, Martin Sheen, one of the greatest actors of our time. He was in Apocalypse Now. His son, Charlie Sheen, became the poster child of a rich Hollywood son who turned bad. Sea Hunt, thank you. I love that show, by the way. And I actually had a chance to save Jeff Bridges' life one day. That was kind of a weird moment. I saw Jeff Bridges right next to a store I was working at, and he was falling right into the window, which was going to come crashing down on him. And he was completely drunk off his ass. So I went right up to him and grabbed him. And I was like face to face with Jeff Bridges. I said, come on, man, you got to get in the car here. And the limousine driver helped him get in. But, yeah. These people have kind of a life of... It's handed to them on a platter. And then they just have to learn how to manage that platter. It's not that hard. My father actually knew Rosemary Clooney. They were friends. To George Clooney's mother. He looked her up a couple times. She knew him personally. But George Clooney, he had this whole thing where he inherited that whole Hollywood thing, and it became very, very famous as a result of it. I understand George Clooney is getting a divorce now. Is that right? Some people believe his wife is transgender. Okay. They're not divorcing? Okay, good. It was just some rag sheet I read. Yeah, there a bunch of the Mercury News says George and Amal Clooney headed for divorce. Yeah, we could talk about technology today. The folding phones have not been perfected yet. I'm weirded out by the 5G network still. The folding phones, I think you should wait before you get a folding phone, simply because that technology is not quite there yet. They're experimenting with a couple different varieties, some better than others. The truth revealed. Let's take a look. Two reports have claimed that George Clooney and Amal are calling their 4-year marriage quits. The world became concerned about the marital status after 2 reports claimed they were heading for divorce. Rest assured, the dream team is doing just fine. That's right. They share 1-year-old twins, Ella and Alexandra. Well, you know, having twins, you got to wonder if this woman is a dude. Unless she went to the same doctor Sabrina Williams went to. Because somehow Sabrina was able to give birth, even though, you know, she appears to be a transgender. Jeff Bezos makes $2,500 per second. That's $150,000 per minute. Can you imagine? No, I can't. The look of love is in your... So even pregnant, she looks absolutely... She looks beautiful. I can see why they're a good couple. I mean, she looks great, and so does he. I just don't know if it's a male or a female Amal. I can't verify that. There's a lot of concern that allegedly Amal may be a dude. By the time you read this, Jeff Bezos made $300,000. Gets to the point where you don't care. Willie Pickles saved Jeff Bridges' life. Oh, really? So a shit-eating dog came to his house looking for Jeff, and I told the dog Jeff wasn't home. Well, thank you, Willie. Willie, thank you for saving Jeff's life. I'm just not sure if I really care to talk about how rich people are. Brad Pitt's going through hell with Angelina, but I understand he really has found new hope in his relationship with Jennifer Aniston. So there's hope for them too. Well, Willie Pickles, you're running with the transgender thing right now. It seems that you like the transgender discussion, Willie. By the time you just finished reading this statement, Jeff Bezos made another $1 million. Okay, speaking of transgenders, Willie, have you seen the story about she Chelsea Manning? Chelsea Manning has refused to testify in the WikiLeaks inquiry, and no one knows why, when Chelsea's been given total immunity.
Again, potentially today, doesn't change my stance. The prosecutors are deliberately placing me in an impossible position. Go to jail, and I think that this is ultimately, this is an attempt to place me back in confinement. I think that the questions are the same questions that I was asked before the court-martial in my, in 7-8 years ago. Like, there's nothing new. They're not asking anything new. There's no new information that... I think we have a very strong case. We have more evidence now.
That's pretty much the size of it. She has a strong case, and she definitely believes that he can win. The problem is, why is she even refusing to reveal any information? I don't get it. I mean, you get full immunity. I can only think of a couple examples where you have full immunity and you don't reveal the truth. Michael Cohen and Paul Manafort, and now Chelsea Manning. All related to Donald Trump indirectly or directly. Isn't that interesting? Yeah, that's what I was saying. I'm starting to get it, Dave. Gee, you're starting to make sense. Yeah, Paul Manafort and Michael Cohen and Chelsea Manning are all transgenders. No, they're all trying to violate plea agreements. Now, offered immunity and you don't want to talk about it. There's something about WikiLeaks that makes me think there's something strange in River City. Right here in River City. No, I would not consider Chelsea as my VP choice. No. I think she should do something with his hair. I would recommend a shampoo, possibly Yeah, with a little shea protein. Maybe get he/she hooked up to an avocado shampoo from Garnier. But there's no body in his or her hair. I mean, it's just really flat. I mean, let's talk about hair, shall we? You can't understand what Manning was thinking? Well, who's he hiding? Is he protecting other people? Manning was an Army E4 intelligence officer. And Manning looks to me like he's got intelligence to talk about, but he doesn't want to talk about it for the same reason he didn't want to talk about it then. I'm just wondering if WikiLeaks even is real. I'm beginning to wonder if the whole thing is completely contrived. That the emails maybe were real and they had to deal with them somehow, but they wanted control over it, so WikiLeaks became an arm of the government. That's my suspicion. E4 is as low as you can go. Exactly. Yes, I know. There is a meme where Trump said he did read WikiLeaks before the election, and then after the election he said he doesn't read them. Oh, he lied about WikiLeaks, and when Julian Assange was freed, or shall I say his CGI image was seen on television, leaving the location of the Ecuador embassy, I don't believe that was a real picture of a man. I think it was pasted in, and there was only one camera angle. So we haven't heard from him since. I mean, that's suspicious in and of itself. Here he is leaving the embassy. It looks like they're carrying like a floating cartoon when you see this picture again. That was the only camera angle of him moving through there, and you can see his face is almost a different color and shade of tint than everyone else. It's like he's really pale. Plus, he has 3 hands. We counted the number of hands that are holding on to this magazine, this book that he was reading, which is also significant. And you can see there's 3 hands there. And I'm not sure where they're all coming from. One, 2, 3 hands, yeah. One hand has to be incredibly long to reach that far. That doesn't... And the cop is smiling. He's got his hand in his pocket. It doesn't look like a real picture of a person, too. It looks like kind of like a photograph that's been altered digitally. And again, with only one camera angle, wherever Julian Assange has been seen in the past 7 years, that's suspicious. Even when he came out on the balcony, only one camera angle was seen of all the video footage. So when you have one camera angle, you could very easily control it with digital reconstruction. Well, let's be clear. Dave, there's a blue moon tonight. Well, thank you for sharing. Well, I don't think he even exists. Assange has not really been seen publicly except through two controlled camera angles in 7 years. And we do know that his entire face has been CGI. Yeah, I mean, we've got relics of that on YouTube where Assange has had high technology applied to his face. And we have detected CGI in a lot of his speeches. So take a look at this for one.
Mind and in the European mind. He represents American white trash. Deplorable and irredeemable. American white trash. Deplorable trash. Deplorable. 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 Deplorable.
Yeah, you see, it was altered. You see that? Technology is alterable, especially in the CGI realm. So we have that to worry about in reality. It's not easy making decisions about things that may be fake. That's why you're here. That's to shake you up a little bit, kind of push that volume out there and make you realize we need a media verification alliance, something that can actually determine what is true and what's not. We found a link for last week that Russia is now copying my media verification alliance concept. Same thing that they're doing at RT. They copied my idea. They're claiming that we have expert information verification, get data verification with the Russian television. Yeah. I wish that Trump could explain these directed energy weapons that were used in California back about a year ago and 2 years ago. These are actual photographs of what appear to be directed energy weapons starting fires that burn people to a crisp. Carbonizing California, killing hundreds of people, if not more. We know that 85 people allegedly died in the Paradise Fire, but that number seems artificially low. I don't believe it. And I can tell you that this is a plan that's been put in place by the powerful elitists to do California fracking. Turns out that the same area that they found a lot of gas reserves, natural gas reserves in California, happens to be where the fires have been occurring. So you wonder, what's going on? Are we really dealing with this level of Tesla technology being deployed right under our nose without us having any oversight? Yeah, it's kind of weird, isn't it? That this is going on in our world, and they're pushing the 5G network on us. And they've got zealots pushing this stuff out there that keep pitching it like it's some great thing. Like Trump supports the 5G 100%, which is weird considering it hasn't even been tested on humans in America.
The United States will be the first country in the world to open up high-band spectrum for 5G networks and applications. And that's damn important, because it means that U.S. companies
will profit more and more. And all he cares about is money, profit and money, that guy. I met him at a convention in Sacramento, California. I'll never forget meeting the guy. I had a weird feeling. I just felt like I needed to go up and talk to him. And he was just like, he was possessed. It was like he was lit up like a light bulb inside. He wouldn't listen to anything I said. He told me things that were just, he said in response to my questions that it's a lot more complicated than anything that the public knows. Yeah, I would say so, especially if they're trying to zap the entire population with energy, turning our entire landscape into a microwave oven. Yeah. Many years ago, we used to talk about weather modification, and one of the buzzwords we used was the word HAARP. And HAARP is an operation that happened in Alaska called High Frequency Auroral Research Project. Yes. And HAARP was apparently duplicated around the world in many locations since then. And there's supposed to be over 40 transmitters around the world that now transmit radio frequencies at high levels that manipulate the weather. I know, it's kind of scary. But they've got this technology and they're using it. This is the same technology that Tesla came up with many years ago. And it was developed by, ironically, Donald Trump's uncle, John Trump. It's like, what? John Trump? I don't get it. But this is the program, and it was going very strong in Alaska. It still exists, but it's sold to private concerns now. But there's one like this across the globe in almost every region. And this technology has been going on, studying it has been going on for probably 30 years. So they've got the capability of directing radio frequencies in different directions that can manipulate the heavy metals that they dump in the sky in the form of chemtrails. So this technology is pretty amazing. Now, what I'm suggesting is we make a 5G plus network that's safe against an electromagnetic pulse and would also provide a backbone of energy in case of a disaster. Now, what this plan would include would be limiters on the amount of energy you could put through the communication system, limiters, and also the end game would be to make it ultimately run in the event it was taken out by a large electromagnetic pulse or a solar mass coronal ejection, where a burst of energy hits the Earth and knocks out our electricity. We don't have safety against that right now. We're kind of vulnerable. Of course, he's going to be in prison again, so he may be vulnerable too. You read that 5G would interfere with weather radars and they're trying to stop them from using that one band? Well, it's interesting you read about that Kool-Aid 8000 because 5G really is going to be used precisely for that reason. Controlling the weather. So, I have people I know that work in the telecommunications industry, and I hear strange things. I hear strange things about the satellites being deployed. They're not. There's an inordinate amount of satellites being deployed for DirecTV, way more than we need. And as you know, DirecTV is kind of like a non-issue, but you know, it's a good program if you really want to get internet connections or cable TV from a remote location. I guess HughesNet is another one that offers internet connections through a satellite. But these satellites are being deployed left and right, and we're not seeing a growth industry in that area. It's mostly used for military purposes. Very strange. And remember when the digital conversion from analog to digital occurred in 2009? What, 10 years ago? Everyone had to switch out they couldn't have analog systems, they had to have digital converters. And the government gave some money for everybody to cash in on the digital converter thing. Well, all that bandwidth that analog offered has not been used either. Now we've got a 4G network that works fine. You can download 4K screens on your iPhone, see a whole movie, no problem. Works great. So why do we need the 5G network if we haven't even opened up the spectrum to all that other potential use? The analog spectrum is still wide open, waiting for it to be used. So something is very fishy about the 5G network, in my opinion. Doesn't make sense. And they think we're all a bunch of sheep, so they can do whatever they want. Yeah. And for the most part, they're right. Most of us just sit back and, just say, well, what are you going to do, They're not, most of us are not built like I am. A guy who's not going to sit back and take this crap. Yeah, I really believe that we need somebody with my integrity to do this, to pull this off. That's why I'm here every night. People are thinking things through, you're right. I spent a lot of time thinking about the future of America. And I assure you, this is not something we're just going to, kick back and ignore. I believe that total collusion has been happening. I believe that, number one, cheating went on in the election. We know the Russians did rig the election for Donald Trump to win. And we also know that there's been a misuse of power and gross obstruction, even at the lowest level, by Donald Trump, storming around the White House, asking everybody to fire Mueller. That's been on record now. That's what the Mueller report, 448-page Mueller report, suggests, that Donald Trump stormed around the White House asking everybody to stop the investigation. That's a sign of a guilty person. So all these qualifications for impeachment are right there. These are the only two requirements for impeachment. according to Representative Nadler, who's putting together contempt charges against William Barr for obstructing by saying there was no obstruction when clearly Mueller wrote him a letter saying that he didn't in any way imply that. So now we have William Barr lying, perjuring himself, and violation of a contempt order. Here we go again. It's coming. Yeah, we're going into round 2 of the investigation now. You can't put this thing to rest. I'm telling you, still waters run deep. I used to wonder what that meant. My father used to say, remember, still waters run very deep, meaning you may not see anything on the surface, but there's a whole lot of crap in that swamp. And you're right, David, it was a sign of guilty person the first time he didn't want to show his tax returns. I know. Donald Trump said, I'll gladly show you my tax returns, no problem, for 10 years, no problem. Yet he didn't show them, and he's now working quickly to stop anyone accessing this tax returns. Come on. This guy acts more guilty than a guy in prison right now doing double nickels at Chino. They're all innocent in places like that. They claim they do. But they always act guilty. Well, thank you for that information, Cool 8000. That's very interesting that you read that 5G would interfere with weather radars. Yeah, it's designed to do that. Yeah, they have the ability to control the weather on a large scale, and it's not something that we should just ignore. Every day, this is the weather we report across the globe. Let's take a look at this. College of DuPage does a service to provide information on this radio frequency. You see all these little globs of energy here? These are all RF frequencies zapping heavily into the atmosphere from radar installations as well as cell phone towers. See these? And this is a mapping of how they are able to use these radio frequencies to actually control the weather that you see in the center. They can guide and propagate clouds. They can create hurricanes. They can create a vornado spin. They can actually create a hurricane. They can also evaporate an area like California. So this is a real interesting radar map. If you want to look at the Northeast radar map, here it is. Brought to you by Never Lose Truth. She gave us this link, or she put it out there. Contamination events have caused a Hanford nuclear site shutdown. King 5. Let's take a look.
Tonight, the King 5 investigators revealed that 2 contamination events have happened at the Hanford Nuclear Reservation while people were working on the most radioactive part of that entire property.
King 5 Susanna Frame joins us now to explain. Susanna.
Lori and Mark, we're talking about a building called, 364. And I want people to know that there's no risk to the public right now. No workers have been injured or gotten sick. But the job that we're talking about at this specific building is so dangerous and so complicated, there's little room for sloppy work.
You're looking at one of the most dangerous buildings in the entire country, Building 324 on the Hanford site, a now defunct research lab near the Columbia River. Some of the worst waste created in the bomb-making processes ended up in this lab. Not only is it close to the river, it's just a mile from the town of Richland.
It's pretty close to populated areas, and it's a very, very large inventory of radioactive waste.
There's 160 million gallons of radioactive waste at Hanford. 160 million gallons, and it does pose a big threat to the Columbia River Basin. Yes, the polar vortex is exactly what this fluctuation is. The increased radioactive material around the Earth, as well as the heavy metals which are being manipulated, has altered the magnetosphere and created a ripple effect called the polar vortex. It used to be the winter descended evenly across the globe. but now it descends in various ways, harder in some areas and softer in others. Please do find the article, because according to the experts on the Voynich script, that was a document acquired from 1415 Italy, the Voynich manuscript has never been deciphered. But it does look like some sort of a homeopathic remedy book. I will agree with you there, but I have never found anyone who could decipher it. And there have been expert ciphers working on the Voynich mystery for decades. No, I'm afraid the polar vortex does not contain millions of polar bears. Anyway, the Hanford Nuclear Waste Repository is definitely a problem with contamination. It's been an ongoing problem for some time. Our governor said he was going to do something about it when he took office many, many years ago, 2 terms ago. He never ever talked about it again. He completely shut it down. The dialogue completely shut down. So I'll put that in Enviro as well as tonight's show. Yeah, kind of funny. Hey, here's a really interesting technology on Snapchat. It's a Snapchat filter that gives you the ability to become a transsexual to your friends. Watch this. Okay. Yeah, so if you want to be a transgender, you can do it on Snapchat now. Check this link out. You heard of that filter? Well, here it is. Yeah. And speaking of stuff regarding the social networks, Instagram and Twitter updates stop looking at anti-vax propaganda. So controversial hashtags are now being removed, and people searching for them will be shown NHS links instead. National Health Service links are now being directed. Whenever you look for the word hashtag anti-vax, it no longer goes anywhere regarding the subject. You're completely censored. They're trying to control the dialogue, that somehow there's been some assurance by our government that vaccines are safe when clearly they aren't. It's amazing how they're using propaganda now to control the media, and they're getting away with it. Unreal. Hey, Meta Nemesis. So a lot of you are kind of sitting around wondering, what can I do? How can I make money on the internet? Well, there's a really good way of making money on the internet still to this day, but you have to learn to adapt to it, and it's called eBay. The problem with eBay is you have to know what people buy and sell, and how easy it is to sell. I wouldn't mess around with stocks. I would seriously mess around with eBay if you want to make money, because eBay still has a very, very solid viewership that continually looks for bargains, and if you can find the things they want, you can make some serious money on eBay. Like cameras. You'd never guess that an old Minolta camera or a Nikon camera, you know, the old type, using film would be of any value, but they really are. And you can generally flip them for between $50 and $100 if you buy them at a garage sale for $10 or $15. Yeah. But I think learning what is collectible is the key. Once you find out what this is collectible, people will, you know. So going out there, I think eBay gives you like 50 free listings. What do you got to lose to try it, you know? I don't know. I think their cuts 10 to 15%, but I'm not sure that's not the big hang-up. The big hang-up is shipping. And the harder it is to ship, the less likely it is you're going to sell that product. No, it is not necessary for you to give your Salvatore Ferragamo suit for €500. So here, with a forte carrot, a gold button. No necesito. Por favor. Please, no gifts from foreign entities. I am a strictly American. Is it 13%, Scissorfight? Yeah. eBay and PayPal, it's 13%. But even Scissorfight has learned how to ship large objects and still make money. And he makes money in a very big area of LA, where there's a lot of people with houses that are, grandma's going and, finally died, and they've got their reel-to-reel and receiver from 1975 in their living room. He picks those things up in garage sales and is able to flip them and mail them. And they turn a lot of money. They make a lot of money. Yeah, he's made a lot of money just buying reel-to-reels and receivers and tape decks even. I remember giving away a Sansui tape deck that could have gotten me a couple $100 or maybe even more. I threw it in the garbage because it didn't work. But had I kept it, I probably could have sold it because it's that hot of a market. Somebody will fix it. Yeah. Designer jeans, still very popular on eBay and can turn a big profit and isn't that expensive to ship. Yeah, well, you got to pay the piper, as they say. eBay is part of the deal. I don't understand why a lot of these auction sites should be able to make money well into the future, because the technology is already there, and we pretty much paid for the technology. So they're going to be making money well over for years to come, because there is no socialist agenda to demonopolize eBay or Amazon. There hasn't been anyone out there who wants to break up those monopolies. Ship heavy stuff through FedEx. There you go. That's good advice. Well, yeah, if you're too lazy to deal with it, it's not for you. But if you actually make it really easy, say you have a post office that picks up outside, say the postal lady picks up outside your house. And say you can't really get out of bed because you're too lazy. If you manage to get that package labeled with a printer and the labeling system they offer online, you could probably get that package at the front door with a little arrow on your box at the time your mail lady comes by. Problem solved. It makes it really easy. When you got to go to the post office and stand in line with a bunch of other people to ship it, that's when it's not easy. Or if you know how to use the auto kiosk to fill out the package at the post office and then just drop it in the mail, that's probably the way to go. But really, it'll tire you down going to the line every time you have to mail these things off. No, please no, a gift from Italy, please no. I'm a 47 long. And I would not expect anyone to buy me a jacket. Okay, you found it, huh? According to this article from Anita, a British scholar has deciphered the Voynich manuscript. Okay. He claims to have decoded it. Thank you, Anita. A researcher at the University of Bristol claims to have decoded the language and meaning of the Voynich manuscript, a bizarre medieval 200-page book written in alien-like glyphs. The book's content has eluded some of the world's foremost cryptologists and linguists for years. But Dr. Gerard Cheshire, a research assistant at Bristol, claims it took him only 2 weeks to decipher the world's most mysterious book. An herbal atlas, an alchemy recipe, and an elaborate hoax. You can schedule a pickup through USPS free. Well, there you have it. They come to your door, really? Well, there you go. You know. I experienced a series of eureka moments while deciphering the code, followed by a sense of disbelief and excitement when I realized the magnitude of the achievement, both in terms of its linguistic importance and the revelations about the origin and content of the manuscript, Cheshire said in a statement. Okay. a 600-year-old book. It's one of the strangest, most mysterious tomes in the world. Okay. Okay, Cheshire claims that the book is written in an extinct language known as Proto-Romance that predates French, Italian, Romanian, Portuguese, Spanish, Catalan, and Galician. By his interpretation, the Voynich is the only known surviving text written in Proto-Romance. He even claims that he knows the author, Dominican nuns who wrote the book as a reference source on behalf of Maria of Castile, Queen of Aragon. Okay. That would explain the many nude nymphs of women with large breasts. Of course, I should have known. Well, having said he deciphered it, it's not exactly like deciphering it. Saying is one thing. Talk is cheap, you know? Actions speak louder than words. I want a full translation of the Proto-Romance period. David, from far away, while squinting, you kind of look like an Oriental lady. Oh, arigato. That's very derogatory for a Caucasian to be called an Oriental lady. You show great disrespect. Although Oriental ladies are beautiful. Don't get me wrong, I'm a dude, man. It's an instruction book for abortions, a health book for surgeons. I find that amazing. Yeah. Dave, I've watched you so long that I feel that if you ever stop broadcasting, there would be a part of my life missing. I know. Isn't that the way it is for the show? You actually had USPS come to your door and pick up packages? Well, I think that's great. You're working the system, man. That's cool. Okay, we got a video from Scissor Fight.
Hi, guys.
This is called Cabin Talk. This woman lays it on the line. 22 minutes of straight talk about the world we live in and all the environmental stress factors and what they're doing to us.
Claudia with Cabin Talk, and I need to come on real quick. I am just in awe about what is going on. There's really no other way of saying it. In awe in the strangest possible way. And here is what blows my mind. We have censorship in this country that is not even in any way, shape, or form justifiable anymore, okay? It's not even on the fringes of, okay, we need to not talk about certain things or whatever. It's not about, I don't know, rape victims or something where you say, okay, I need to be conscious of what I say here. Pinterest blocks everything vaccines now, or vaccines conspiracies. Instagram, I just got a message from my friend Rob Williams this morning that Instagram now, certain hashtags like vaccines cause autism, they will now censor.
Yeah. She's bringing up what I was just talking about earlier. Yeah, we'll play this tonight. Thanks, Scissor Fight. Yep. All these social networks are now censoring the dialogues, making it so that we have to look at vaccines as being the gospel truth about everything. They are putting a sock in our mouth. And Oroville Live Cam, the dam, doesn't look ready for the spilling away period. Apparently, they're still working on the Oroville Dam to make it spill-proof. And there's a night camera on it so that you can look at the dam being worked on, the dam.
Hi, guys.
Never Lose Truth is going to take a look at that tonight as well. Well, there was a predictor that among the many things that would happen in the future in the Illuminati card game that came out in the early 90s, one of the things was the trade centers being knocked down. Another one was the dam in California breaking from too much water. So we'll see if that comes true. Yeah, the Illuminati groups that own the world, basically the power elite, the people behind the New World Order, they love to control the dialogue and to foreshadow what they're going to do. And telling us that they're going to have a dam break, and now we see the Oroville Dam, potentially being a problem. You got to wonder if this isn't a big play, that they're just playing with us and leading us on and then doing whatever they're going to do, regardless of what we are or who we are or what we're doing. If they want gas lines in California, they'll burn the houses down with directed energy weapons to get them. They'll do whatever it takes to control that. This is the map from the PG&E group in California, which is underwritten by the Rothschild family. They're also the Zionist people that are behind the takeover of our government from the Democrats, Republican side. They're also behind a water investment in California. Right there in the middle of drought land, they've got an investment in water in Sonoma County. The Rockefellers and the Rothschilds have a joint venture. I know. And here you think Trump is stopping these people. It's unbelievable. Trump is owned by these people. So, we're going to step out of total collusion land and get ready for the end of our show. 10 more minutes, 11 more minutes. We'll go over the news. It's amazing how these shows keep rolling along. I have an endless supply of things to talk about. Trump has derailed the California high-speed rail program. I'm glad he did that. I'm in favor of that. And he's also what we do know about Mar-a-Lago is it's losing money. Trump had made about $434 million in 2018 from his ventures. So he didn't want a $400,000 salary because part of that money came from the Trump Hotel in D.C. where people spent a lot of money to be near the president, which to me is a conflict of interest. The Ukrainian prosecutor said they have no evidence of wrongdoings by the Bidens, so Trump's wasting his time even bothering to investigate that. And Trump delivers remarks on the immigration system where he's planning on, this is his big thing for the day, he's planning on making a merit-based immigration system without even addressing the issue of DACA, the Dreamers, as well as the missing children, the 4,500 missing displaced kids that are still without their parents.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Please, thank you. Thank you very much. We're here on this very beautiful spring day in the Rose Garden to unveil our plan to create a fair, modern, and lawful system of immigration for the United States, and it's about time. If it first welfare programs, only 12% of legal immigrants are selected based on skill or based on merit. In countries like Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and others, that number is closer to 60 and even 70 and 75% in some cases.
Okay, so I'm actually okay with his system of merit. I'll play this whole thing tonight on our show because I am interested in any immigration reform that is positive. I don't care who comes up with it, whether I like the president or not. I like him looking at the merit issue. I think that's good. And I'll add that to tonight's list as well as immigration itself. So if he wants to lead the discussion on immigration, let's solve the problem and let's build a fence, Mr. Trump. Let's stop flip-flopping on all these issues. All right, I'll play that tonight as well, so count on it. And Alabama's extremist abortion bill may make it harder for John Roberts, Chief Justice John Roberts, to overturn Roe v. Wade. Ironically, the more the states implement this, the more likely the states will rule against it. Now states are moving forward with the plan to force the issue and make choice a mandated thing in the state of a liberal state, for instance, is going to mandate choice just like Alabama is mandating no abortions. So that's going to change the dynamic. There was a F-16 fighter jet crash in California, but no one was reported injured. And okay, more memos reveal that more information about Michael Flynn's cooperation with Mueller. Now, Michael Flynn was the national security advisor that Trump hired, even though Sally Yates said he was working for Russia. Michael Flynn turned a lot of states' evidence And he told Mueller that people tied to Trump and Congress tried to obstruct this probe. And the communications could have affected the ex-National Security Advisor's willingness to cooperate, Robert Mueller wrote. They threatened people to try to obstruct the case. Remember, Trump himself offered Michael Cohen a plea agreement on the QT, offered him to give him immunity if he didn't say anything about him, and then Michael Cohen just spilled his guts and said as much as he could, and now serving 3-year jail sentence. So that's interesting that Flynn told Mueller that people tied to Trump and Congress tried to obstruct the probe. It makes you really wonder. I mean, even William Barr wrote a letter to Rod Rosenstein saying not to investigate Michael Flynn before we found out Michael Flynn was working for Russia, which means William Barr is complicit in covering up the Russian involvement with Michael Flynn. And he's our Attorney General. He should definitely be charged with contempt. Okay, on this note, we had a browser edition that was offered last week to help us get downloads of YouTube shows. Extensions are like apps for your browser, and Firefox had a bunch of extensions. And I was looking for Invidition. Invidition, it was supposed to be available. Have you gotten Invidition to work on your computer, Misanthropy? Because I can't get it to work. And it turns out the Firefox add-ons won't even add on. I don't know, has Firefox fixed that problem yet? Because this is a pretty unique add-on that gives you the ability to look at YouTube videos without YouTube seeing you're looking at them. And if they can't make it, they can't implement it, it's pretty obvious somebody's blocking it. Oh, he left earlier? Okay. Anthrax. Hyproglow. Okay. Oh, little Bugman. Well, in any event, I haven't gotten it to work, and I know the add-ons for Firefox are still having problems adapting due to a certification issue. So it's very likely that somebody's playing games with Firefox. If they're putting out tools that'll make YouTube less likely to track you, you can imagine what kind of opposition you have. Now, there is a new software program called Cullo.net that touts to be the most user-friendly secure communication solution out there. Now, we showed you Proton Mail a couple weeks ago. But if you want, you can check this program out. If you want secure communications, Cullo.net.en. I don't know what the deal is, but it looks like a possibility if you're looking for secure communications. I don't care because I have nothing to hide, but I can imagine some people are looking for something. Now, this is the big story today. A tragic woman died with her baby cut out of her body. A pregnant Chicago teen whose baby boy was cut from her in a sickening womb raider plot, as the child is now fighting for life in a hospital. These 3 people are involved in this heinous act against this innocent woman, a sweet woman who's now dead, and her baby is clinging to life. Womb raiders. Yeah. And a model, Ashley Massaro, has passed away. This woman right here, a superstar in the WWE film wrestling field. She was found unconscious at home on Long Island and rushed to the hospital. She died at 39 years old. Unfortunate and sad. All right. That's it for tonight. No more wrap-ups whatsoever. That pretty much wraps up the story. I know, it's just beyond belief. I mean, I'm glad they caught the perpetrators. 3 of these people had planned to rob her womb. Yeah, Trump made $434 million in 2018, but again, how much of that came from the U.S. taxpayer, hiring his Secret Service to follow him around with a golf cart? You got to wonder. Hey, see you tomorrow, Pitoro. Yeah. We'll be back for sure. Yeah, we're always here. We never seem to leave you. I'm like a metronome. I'm a constant beat to the beat of free press, the last remaining free press on the internet. I just can't get over how these people are trying to censor all these websites. So if we keep strong and keep viewed around the world and the numbers continue to rise, we will become an alternate force to deal with. Getting free press to the American people and around the world is an essential component to helping our political structure evolve. By stifling free press, they have essentially shut down political change and change for the good. And that's one of the reasons why we're still stuck with people like Donald Trump as our leader, because they just are the greediest people at the top of the helm of corruption. And that's the problem throughout the world. People like that get to the highest level of their own incompetence. I will see you again tomorrow. Take care. Signing off from Mr. Right.
Cause you make me melt away. You're Mr. Right, my Mr. Right, too good to be true. You spin my world around, 'cause you're the peace I find. If you sweep me off my feet, my heart stops to beat. 'Cause you make me melt away. You're Mr. Right, my Mr. Right, too good.